Yahweh made the earth and heavens. Now no shrub of the field had yet grown on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprouted, for Yahweh had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no man to cultivate the ground. Springs would well up from the earth and water the whole surface of the ground. Yahweh formed the man from the soil of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Yahweh planted an orchard in the east, in Eden, and there he placed the man he had formed. Yahweh made all kinds of trees grow from the soil, every tree that was pleasing to look at and good for food. Now the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil were in the middle of the orchard. Now a river flows from Eden to water the orchard, and from there it divides into 4 head streams. The name of the first is Pishon. It runs through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is pure, pearls and lapis lazuli are also there. The name of the second river is Gihon. It runs through the entire land of Cush. The name of the third river is Tigris. It runs along the east side of Assyria. The fourth river is the Euphrates. Yahweh took the man and placed him in the orchard in Eden to care for it and to maintain it. Then Yahweh commanded the man, "You may freely eat fruit from every tree of the orchard, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will surely die." Yahweh said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a companion for him who corresponds to him." Yahweh formed out of the ground every living animal of the field and every bird of the air. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them, and whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. So the man named all the animals, the birds of the air, and the living creatures of the field. But for Adam, no companion who corresponded to him was found. So Yahweh caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was asleep, he took part of the man's side and closed up the place with flesh. Then Yahweh made a woman from the part he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. Then the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman, for she was taken out of man." That is why a man leaves his father and mother and unites with his wife, and they become one family. Now, the serpent was shrewder than any of the wild animals that Yahweh had made. He said to the woman, "Is it really true that God said, 'You must not eat from any tree of the orchard'?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit from the trees of the orchard, but concerning the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the orchard, God said, 'You must not eat from it, and you must not touch it, or else you will die.'" The serpent said to the woman, "Surely you will not die, for God knows that when you eat from it your eyes will open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the tree produced fruit that was good for food, was attractive to the eye, and was desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate it. She also gave some of it to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them opened, and they knew they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of Yahweh moving about in the orchard at the breezy time of the day, and they hid from God, Yahweh, among the trees of the orchard. But Yahweh called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" The man replied, "I heard you moving about in the orchard, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And God Yahweh said, "Who told you that you were naked? Did you eat from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman whom you gave me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." So Yahweh said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" And the woman replied, "The serpent tricked me, and I ate." Yahweh said to the serpent, because you have done this. Cursed are you above all the cattle and all the living creatures of the field. On your belly you will crawl, and dust you will eat all the days of your life. And I will put hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. To the woman he said, I will greatly increase your labor pains. With pain you will give birth to children. You will want to control your husband, but he will dominate you. But to Adam he said, because you obeyed your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. The ground is cursed because of you. In painful toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, but you will eat the grain of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat food until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For you are dust, and to dust you will return. The man named his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all the living. Yahweh made garments from skin for Adam and his wife, and clothed them. And Yahweh said, now that the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, he must not be allowed to stretch out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So Yahweh expelled him from the orchard in Eden to cultivate the ground from which he had been taken. When he drove the man out, he placed on the eastern side of the orchard, in Eden, angelic sentries, who used the flame of a whirling sword to guard the way to the tree of life. Now the man was intimate with his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. Then she said, I have created a man just as Yahweh did. Then she gave birth to his brother Abel. Abel took care of the flocks, while Cain cultivated the ground. At the designated time, Cain brought some of the fruit of the ground for an offering to Yahweh. But Abel brought some of the firstborn of his flock, even the fattest of them. And Yahweh was pleased with Abel and his offering, but with Cain and his offering he was not pleased. So Cain became very angry, and his expression was downcast. Then Yahweh said to Cain, why are you angry, and why is your expression downcast? Is it not true that if you do what is right, you will be fine, but if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at the door. It desires to dominate you, but you must subdue it. Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out to the field. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then Yahweh said to Cain, where is your brother Abel? And he replied, I don't know. Am I my brother's guardian? But Yahweh said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. So now you are banished from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you try to cultivate the ground, it will no longer yield its best for you. You will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Then Cain said to Yahweh, my punishment is too great to endure. Look, you are driving me off the land today, and I must hide from your presence. I will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Whoever finds me will kill me. But Yahweh said to him, all right then, if anyone kills Cain, Cain will be avenged 7 times as much. Then Yahweh put a special mark on Cain so that no one who found him would strike him down. So Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain was intimate with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain was building a city, and he named the city after his son, Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehujael. Mehujael was the father of Methushael, and Methushael was the father of Lamech. Lamech took 2 wives for himself. The name of the first was Ada, and the name of the second was Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the first of those who live in tents and keep livestock. The name of his brother was Jubal. He was the first of all who play the harp and the flute. Now Zillah also gave birth to Tubal-Cain, who heated metal and shaped all kinds of tools made of bronze and iron. The sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, listen to me, "You wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for hurting me. If Cain is to be avenged 7 times as much, then Lamech 77 times. And Adam was intimate with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son. She named him Seth, saying, 'God has given me another child in place of Abel because Cain killed him.' And a son was also born to Seth, whom he named Enosh. At that time people began to worship Yahweh, and Enos begat a son. He named him Noah, saying, 'This one will bring us comfort from our labor and from the painful toil of our hands because of the ground that Yahweh has cursed.' When humankind began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humankind were beautiful. Thus they took wives for themselves from any they chose. So Yahweh said, 'My spirit will not remain in humankind indefinitely, since they are mortal. They will remain for 120 more years.' The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also after this, when the sons of God would sleep with the daughters of humankind, who gave birth to their children. They were the mighty heroes of old, the famous men. But Yahweh saw that the wickedness of humankind had become great on the earth. Every inclination of the thoughts of their minds was only evil all the time. Yahweh regretted that he had made humankind on the earth, and he was highly offended. So Yahweh said, 'I will wipe humankind, whom I have created, from the face of the earth, for I regret that I have made them.' But Noah found favor in the sight of Yahweh. Noah was a godly man. He was blameless among his contemporaries. Yahweh said to Noah, 'Come into the ark, you and all your household, for I consider you godly among this generation. You must take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, the male and its mate, 2 of every kind of unclean animal, the male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird in the sky, male and female, to preserve their offspring on the face of the entire earth. For in 7 days I will cause it to rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the ground every living thing that I have made.' And Noah did all that Yahweh commanded him. And after 7 days, the flood waters engulfed the earth. And the rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Then Yahweh shut him in. The flood engulfed the earth for 40 days. So Yahweh destroyed every living thing that was on the surface of the ground, including people, animals, creatures that creep along the ground, and birds of the sky. They were wiped off the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark survived, and the rain stopped falling from the sky. The waters kept receding steadily from the earth, so that they had gone down by the end of the 150 days. Then Noah sent out a dove to see if the waters had receded from the surface of the ground. The dove could not find a resting place for its feet because water still covered the surface of the entire earth, and so it returned to Noah in the ark. He stretched out his hand, took the dove, and brought it back into the ark. He waited 7 more days and then sent out the dove again from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there was a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak. Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. He waited another 7 days and sent the dove out again, but it did not return to him this time. And Noah removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. Noah built an altar to Yahweh. He then took some of every kind of clean animal and clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Yahweh smelled the soothing aroma and said to himself, "I will never again curse the ground because of humankind, even though the inclination of their minds is evil from childhood on. I will never again destroy everything that lives as I have just done. While the earth continues to exist, planting time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease." Noah, a man of the soil, began to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of the wine, he got drunk and uncovered himself inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness and told his two brothers who were outside. Shem and Japheth took the garment and placed it on their shoulders. Then they walked in backwards and covered up their father's nakedness. Their faces were turned the other way, so they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his drunken stupor, he learned what his youngest son had done to him. So he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves he will be to his brothers." He also said, "Worthy of praise is Yahweh, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God enlarge Japheth's territory and numbers. May he live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be the slave of Japheth." Cush was the father of Nimrod. He began to be a valiant warrior on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yahweh. The primary regions of his kingdom were Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria, where he built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Resen, which is between Nineveh and the great city Calah. Mizraim was the father of the Ludites, Anamites, Lehabites, Naphtuhites, Pathrusites, Caslahites, from whom the Philistines came, and Caphtorites. Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, Heth, the Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, and Hamathites. Eventually, the families of the Canaanites were scattered, and the borders of Canaan extended from Sidon all the way to Gerar, as far as Gaza, and all the way to Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. And sons were also born to Shem, the older brother of Japheth, the father of all the sons of Eber. 2 sons were born to Eber. One was named Peleg because in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan was the father of Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan. Their dwelling place was from Mesha all the way to Sephar in the eastern hills. The whole earth had a common language and a common vocabulary. When the people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick instead of stone and tar instead of mortar. Then they said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered across the face of the entire earth." But Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower that the people had started building. And Yahweh said, "If as one people all sharing a common language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be beyond them. Come, let's go down and confuse their language so they won't be able to understand each other." So Yahweh scattered them from there across the face of the entire earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh confused the language of the entire world. And from there, Yahweh scattered them across the face of the entire earth. And Abram and Nahor took wives for themselves. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, who was the father of both Milcah and Iscah. But Sarai was barren, she had no children. Now Yahweh said to Abram, "Go out from your country, your relatives, and your father's household to the land that I will show you. Then I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, so that you will exemplify divine blessing. I will bless those who bless you, but the one who treats you lightly I must curse, so that all the families of the earth may receive blessing through you." So Abram left, just as Yahweh had told him to do, and Lot went with him. Abram travelled through the land as far as the oak tree of Moreh at Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. Yahweh appeared to Abram and said, "To your descendants I will give this land." So Abram built an altar there to Yahweh, who had appeared to him. Then he moved from there to the hill country east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to Yahweh and worshipped Yahweh. Abram continually journeyed by stages down to the Negev. There was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to stay for a while because the famine was severe. As he approached Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "Look, I know that you are a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but will keep you alive. So tell them you are my sister, so that it may go well for me because of you, and my life will be spared on account of you." When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. When Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. So Abram's wife was taken into the household of Pharaoh, and he did treat Abram well on account of her. Abram received sheep and cattle, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels. But Yahweh struck Pharaoh and his household with severe diseases because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I took her to be my wife? Now here is your wife. Take her and go." Pharaoh gave his men orders about Abram, and so they expelled him, along with his wife and all his possessions. There was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to stay for a while because the famine was severe. As he approached Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "Look, I know that you are a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but will keep you alive. So tell them you are my sister, so that it may go well for me because of you, and my life will be spared on account of you." When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. When Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. So Abram's wife was taken into the household of Pharaoh, and he did treat Abram well on account of her. Abram received sheep and cattle, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels. But Yahweh struck Pharaoh and his household with severe diseases because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I took her to be my wife? Now, here is your wife. Take her and go." Pharaoh gave his men orders about Abram, and so they expelled him, along with his wife and all his possessions. So Abram went up from Egypt into the Negev. He took his wife and all his possessions with him, as well as Lot. Now Abram was very wealthy in livestock, silver, and gold, and he journeyed from place to place from the Negev as far as Bethel. He returned to the place where he had pitched his tent at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai. This was the place where he had first built the altar, and there Abram worshipped Yahweh. Now Lot, who was traveling with Abram, also had flocks, herds, and tents. So there were quarrels between Abram's herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen. Now the Canaanites and the Perizzites were living in the land at that time. Abram said to Lot, "Let there be no quarreling between me and you, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself now from me. If you go to the left, then I'll go to the right. But if you go to the right, then I'll go to the left." Lot looked up and saw the whole region of the Jordan. He noticed that all of it was well watered. This was before Yahweh obliterated Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt, all the way to Zoar. Lot chose for himself the whole region of the Jordan and traveled toward the east and pitched his tents next to Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were extremely wicked rebels against Yahweh. After Lot had departed, Yahweh said to Abram, "Look from the place where you stand to the north, south, east, and west. I will give all the land that you see to you and your descendants forever, and I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone is able to count the dust of the earth, then your descendants also can be counted. Get up and walk throughout the land, for I will give it to you." So Abram moved his tents and went to live by the oaks of Mamre in Hebron, and he built an altar to Yahweh there. At that time, Amraphel king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of nations went to war against Bera king of Sodom, Birsha king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, Shemeba king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zoar. These last 5 kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is, the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had served Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings who were his allies came and defeated the Rephates in Ashtaroth Karnim, the Zuzites in Ham, the Emites in Shaveh Kiriatim, and the Horites in their hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is near the desert. Then they attacked En-Mishpat, that is, Kadesh, again, and they conquered all the territory of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites who were living in Hazazon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, went out and prepared for battle. In the valley of Siddim, they met Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal king of nations, Amraphel king of Shinar, and Arioch king of Elasar. 4 kings fought against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits. When the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, they fell into them, but some survivors fled to the hills. The 4 victorious kings took all the possessions and food of Sodom and Gomorrah and left. They also took Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions when they left, for Lot was living in Sodom. A fugitive came and told Abram the Hebrew. Now Abram was living by the oaks of Mamre the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol and Anah. All these were allied by treaty with Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew had been taken captive, he mobilized his 318 trained men who had been born in his household, and he pursued the invaders as far as Dan. Then, during the night, Abram divided his forces against them and defeated them. He chased them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. He retrieved all the stolen property. He also brought back his nephew Lot and his possessions, as well as the women and the rest of the people. After Abram returned from defeating Kedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet Abram in the valley of Shaveh, known as the King's Valley. Then the king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and take the possessions for yourself." But Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I raise my hand to Yahweh, the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, and vow that I will take nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the strap of a sandal. That way you can never say, 'It is I who made Abram rich.' I will take nothing except compensation for what the young men have eaten. As for the share of the men who went with me, Anah, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their share." So Sarai said to Abram, "Since Yahweh has prevented me from having children, please sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can have a family by her." Abram did what Sarai told him. He slept with Hagar, and she became pregnant. Once Hagar realized she was pregnant, she despised Sarai. Then Sarai said to Abram, "You have brought this wrong on me. I gave my servant into your embrace, but when she realized that she was pregnant, she despised me. May Yahweh judge between you and me." Abram said to Sarai, "Since your servant is under your authority, do to her whatever you think best." Then Sarai treated Hagar harshly, so she ran away from Sarai. The angel of Yahweh found Hagar near a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring that is along the road to Shur. He said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going? She replied, I'm running away from my mistress Sarai. Then the angel of Yahweh said to her, I will greatly multiply your descendants, so that they will be too numerous to count. Then the angel of Yahweh said to her, You are now pregnant and are about to give birth to a son. You are to name him Ishmael, for Yahweh has heard your painful groans. He will be a wild donkey of a man. He will be hostile to everyone, and everyone will be hostile to him. He will live away from his brothers. So Hagar named Yahweh, who spoke to her, You are the God who sees me. For she said, Here I have seen one who sees me. That is why the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. It is located between Kadesh and Bered. Yahweh appeared to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre, while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent during the hottest time of the day. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing across from him. When he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. He said, My Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by and leave your servant. Let a little water be brought so that you may all wash your feet and rest under the tree. And let me get a bit of food so that you may refresh yourselves, since you have passed by your servant's home. After that, you may be on your way. All right, they replied. You may do as you say. So Abraham hurried into the tent and said to Sarah, Quick! Take 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make bread. Then Abraham ran to the herd and chose a fine, tender calf, and gave it to a servant who quickly prepared it. Abraham then took some curds and milk, along with the calf that had been prepared, and placed the food before them. They ate while he was standing near them under a tree. Then they asked him, Where is Sarah, your wife? He replied, There, in the tent. One of them said, I will surely return to you when the season comes round again, and your wife Sarah will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, not far behind him. Abraham and Sarah were old and advancing in years. Sarah had long since passed menopause. So Sarah laughed to herself, thinking, After I am worn out will I have pleasure, especially when my husband is old too. Yahweh said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh and say, Will I really have a child when I am old? Is anything impossible for Yahweh? I will return to you when the season comes round again, and Sarah will have a son. Then Sarah lied, saying, I did not laugh, because she was afraid. But Yahweh said, No, you did laugh. When the men got up to leave, they looked out over Sodom. Now Abraham was walking with them to see them on their way. Then Yahweh said, Should I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? After all, Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all the nations on the earth may receive blessing through him. I have chosen him, so that he may command his children and his household after him to keep the way of Yahweh by doing what is right and just. Then Yahweh will give to Abraham what he promised him. So Yahweh said, The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, and their sin so blatant, that I must go down and see if they are as wicked as the outcry suggests. If not, I want to know. The 2 men turned and headed towards Sodom, but Abraham was still standing before Yahweh. Abraham approached and said, Will you really sweep away the godly along with the wicked? What if there are 50 godly people in the city? Will you really wipe it out and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 godly people who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the godly with the wicked, treating the godly and the wicked alike. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of the whole earth do what is right? So Yahweh replied, If I find in the city of Sodom 50 godly people, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Then Abraham asked, Since I have undertaken to speak to Yahweh, although I am but dust and ashes, what if there are 5 less than the 50 godly people? Will you destroy the whole city because 5 are lacking?" He replied, "I will not destroy it if I find 45 there." Abraham spoke to him again, "What if 40 are found there?" He replied, "I will not do it for the sake of the 40. Then Abraham said, "May Yahweh not be angry, so that I may speak. What if 30 are found there?" He replied, "I will not do it if I find 30 there." Abraham said, "Since I have undertaken to speak to Yahweh, what if only 20 are found there?" He replied, "I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20. Finally, Abraham said, "May Yahweh not be angry, so that I may speak just once more. What if 10 are found there?" He replied, "I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. Yahweh went on his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham. Then Abraham returned home. The 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening while Lot was sitting in the city's gateway. When Lot saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face toward the ground. He said, "Here, my lords, please turn aside to your servant's house, stay the night and wash your feet. Then you can be on your way early in the morning." "No," they replied, "we'll spend the night in the town square." But he urged them persistently, so they turned aside with him and entered his house. He prepared a feast for them, including bread baked without yeast, and they ate. Before they could lie down to sleep, all the men, both young and old, from every part of the city of Sodom, surrounded the house. They shouted to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so we can take carnal knowledge of them." Lot went outside to them, shutting the door behind him. He said, "No, my brothers, don't act so wickedly. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never been intimate with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do to them whatever you please. Only don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." "Out of our way," they cried. "This man came to live here as a foreigner, and now he dares to judge us. We'll do more harm to you than to them." They kept pressing in on Lot until they were close enough to break down the door. So the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house as they shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, from the youngest to the oldest, with blindness. The men outside wore themselves out trying to find the door. Then the 2 visitors said to Lot, "Who else do you have here? Do you have any sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or other relatives in the city? Get them out of this place, because we are about to destroy it. The outcry against this place is so great before Yahweh that he has sent us to destroy it." Then Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who were going to marry his daughters. He said, "Quick, get out of this place because Yahweh is about to destroy the city." But his sons-in-law thought he was ridiculing them. At dawn, the angels hurried Lot along, saying, "Get going. Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or else you will be destroyed when the city is judged." When Lot hesitated, the men grabbed his hand and the hands of his wife and 2 daughters, because Yahweh had compassion on them. They led them away and placed them outside the city. When they had brought them outside, they said, "Run for your lives. Don't look behind you or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains or you will be destroyed." But Lot said to them, "No, please, Lord. Your servant has found favor with you, and you have shown me great kindness by sparing my life. But I am not able to escape to the mountains because this disaster will overtake me and I'll die. Look, this town over here is close enough to escape to, and it's just a little one. Let me go there. It's just a little place, isn't it? Then I'll survive." "Very well," he replied. "I will grant this request too, and will not overthrow the town you mentioned. Run there quickly, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. This incident explains why the town was called Zoar. The sun had just risen over the land as Lot reached Zoar. Then Yahweh rained down sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. It was sent down from the sky by Yahweh. So he overthrew those cities and all that region, including all the inhabitants of the cities and the vegetation that grew from the ground. But Lot's wife looked back longingly and was turned into a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. He looked out towards Sodom and Gomorrah and all the land of that region. As he did so, he saw the smoke rising up from the land like smoke from a furnace. Lot went up from Zoar with his 2 daughters and settled in the mountains because he was afraid to live in Zoar. So he lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. Later, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man in the country to sleep with us, the way everyone does. Come, let's make our father drunk with wine so we can go to bed with him, and preserve our family line through our father." So that night they made their father drunk with wine, and the older daughter came in and went to bed with her father. But he was not aware of when she lay down with him or when she got up. So in the morning, the older daughter said to the younger, "Since I went to bed with my father last night, let's make him drunk again tonight. Then you go in and go to bed with him so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they made their father drunk that night as well, and the younger one came and went to bed with him. But he was not aware of when she lay down with him or when she got up. In this way, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter gave birth to a son and named him Moab. He is the ancestor of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also gave birth to a son and named him Ben-Ami. He is the ancestor of the Ammonites of today. Abraham journeyed from there to the Negev region and settled between Kadesh and Shur. Yahweh visited Sarah just as he had said he would, and did for Sarah what he had promised. So Sarah became pregnant and bore Abraham a son in his old age. She went on to say, "Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have given birth to a son for him in his old age." At that time Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, "God is with you in all that you do. Now swear to me right here in God's name that you will not deceive me, my children, or my descendants. Show me, and the land where you are staying, the same loyalty that I have shown you." Abraham said, "I swear to do this." Abraham took some sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech. The 2 of them made a treaty. That is why he named that place Beersheba, because the 2 of them swore an oath there. So they made a treaty at Beersheba. Then Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba. There he worshipped Yahweh, the eternal God. After these things Abraham was told, "Milcah also has borne children to your brother Nahor, Uz the firstborn, his brother Buz, Kemuel, the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel." Now Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. These were the 8 sons Milcah bore to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Roimah, also bore him children, Tabah, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. Now Abraham was old, well advanced in years, and Yahweh had blessed him in everything. Abraham said to his servant, the senior one in his household, who was in charge of everything he had, "Put your hand under my thigh, so that I may make you solemnly promise by Yahweh, the God of heaven and the God of the earth. You must not acquire a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living. You must go instead to my country and to my relatives to find a wife for my son Isaac." The servant asked him, "What if the woman is not willing to come back with me to this land? Must I then take your son back to the land from which you came?" "Be careful never to take my son back there," Abraham told him. "Yahweh, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and the land of my relatives, promised me with a solemn oath, To your descendants I will give this land. He will send his angel before you so that you may find a wife for my son from there. But if the woman is not willing to come back with you, you will be free from this oath of mine. But you must not take my son back there." So the servant placed his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham and gave his solemn promise he would carry out his wishes. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed with all kinds of gifts from his master at his disposal. He journeyed to the region of Aram Naharaim and the city of Nahor. He made the camels kneel down by the well outside the city. It was evening, the time when the women would go out to draw water. He prayed, "O Lord, God of my master Abraham, guide me today. Be faithful to my master Abraham. Here I am, standing by the spring, and the daughters of the people who live in the town are coming out to draw water. I will say to a young woman, 'Please lower your jar so I may drink.' May the one you have chosen for your servant Isaac reply, 'Drink, and I'll give your camels water too.' In this way I will know that you have been faithful to my master." Before he had finished praying, there came Rebekah with her water jug on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel's son of Milcah. Milcah was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. Now the young woman was very beautiful. She was a virgin. No man had ever been physically intimate with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jug, and came back up. Abraham's servant ran to meet her and said, "Please give me a sip of water from your jug." "Drink, my lord," she replied, and quickly lowering her jug to her hands, she gave him a drink. When she had done so, she said, "I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have drunk as much as they want." She quickly emptied her jug into the watering trough and ran back to the well to draw more water until she had drawn enough for all his camels. Silently, the man watched her with interest to determine if Yahweh had made his journey successful or not. After the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing a beker and 2 gold wrist bracelets weighing 10 shekels and gave them to her. "Whose daughter are you?" he asked. "Tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" She said to him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel the son of Milcah, whom Milcah bore to Nahor." "We have plenty of straw and feed," she added, "and room for you to spend the night." The man bowed his head and worshipped Yahweh, saying, "Praised be Yahweh, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his faithful love for my master. Yahweh has led me to the house of my master's relatives." The young woman ran and told her mother's household all about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban. Laban rushed out to meet the man at the spring. When he saw the bracelets on his sister's wrists and the nose ring and heard his sister Rebekah say, "This is what the man said to me," he went out to meet the man. There he was, standing by the camels near the spring. Laban said to him, "Come, you who are blessed by Yahweh. Why are you standing out here when I have prepared the house and a place for the camels?" So Abraham's servant went to the house and unloaded the camels. Straw and feed were given to the camels, and water was provided so that he and the men who were with him could wash their feet. When food was served, he said, "I will not eat until I have said what I want to say." "Tell us," Laban said. "I am the servant of Abraham," he began. "Yahweh has richly blessed my master, and he has become very wealthy. Yahweh has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. My master's wife Sarah bore a son to him when she was old, and my master has given him everything he owns. My master made me swear an oath. He said, 'You must not acquire a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living, but you must go to the family of my father and to my relatives to find a wife for my son.' But I said to my master, What if the woman does not want to go with me?" He answered, "Yahweh, before whom I have walked, will send his angel with you. He will make your journey a success, and you will find a wife for my son from among my relatives, from my father's family. You will be free from your oath if you go to my relatives, and they will not give her to you. Then you will be free from your oath." When I came to the spring today, I prayed, "O Lord, God of my master Abraham, if you have decided to make my journey successful, may events unfold as follows. Here I am, standing by the spring. When the young woman goes out to draw water, I'll say, 'Please give me a little water to drink from your jug.' Then she will reply to me, 'Drink, and I'll draw water for your camels too.' May that woman be the one whom Yahweh has chosen for my master's son." Before I finished praying in my heart, along came Rebekah with her water jug on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew water. So I said to her, "Please give me a drink." She quickly lowered her jug from her shoulder and said, "Drink, and I'll give your camels water too." So I drank, and she also gave the camels water. Then I asked her, "Whose daughter are you?" She replied, "The daughter of Bethuel, the son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to Nahor." I put the ring in her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. Then I bowed down and worshipped Yahweh. I praised Yahweh, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me on the right path to find the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now, if you will show faithful love to my master, tell me. But if not, tell me as well, so that I may go on my way." Then Laban and Bethuel replied, "This is Yahweh's doing. Our wishes are of no concern. Rebekah stands here before you. Take her and go, so that she may become the wife of your master's son, just as Yahweh has decided." When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed down to the ground before Yahweh. Then he brought out gold, silver jewelry, and clothing and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave valuable gifts to her brother and to her mother. After this, he and the men who were with him ate a meal and stayed there overnight. When they got up in the morning, he said, "Let me leave now so I can return to my master." But Rebekah's brother and her mother replied, "Let the girl stay with us a few more days, perhaps 10. Then she can go." But he said to them, "Don't detain me. Yahweh has granted me success on my journey. Let me leave now so I may return to my master." Then they said, "We'll call the girl and find out what she wants to do." So they called Rebekah and asked her, "Do you want to go with this man?" She replied, "I want to go." So they sent their sister Rebekah on her way, accompanied by her female attendant, with Abraham's servant and his men. They blessed Rebekah with these words, "Our sister, may you become the mother of 10,000 10,000s. May your descendants possess the strongholds of their enemies." Then Rebekah and her female servants mounted the camels and rode away with the man. So Abraham's servant took Rebekah and left. Now Isaac came from Beer Lahai Roi, for he was living in the Negev. He went out to relax in the field in the early evening. Then he looked up and saw that there were camels approaching. Rebekah looked up and saw Isaac. She got down from her camel and asked Abraham's servant, "Who is that man walking in the field toward us?" "That is my master," the servant replied. So she took her veil and covered herself. The servant told Isaac everything that had happened. Then Isaac brought Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent. He took her as his wife and loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Abraham had taken another wife named Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan became the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Ashurites, Letushites, and Leomites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Hanok, Abida, and Eldar. All these were descendants of Keturah. Everything he owned Abraham left to his son Isaac. But while he was still alive, Abraham gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them off to the east, away from his son Isaac. Isaac lived near Beer-lahai-roi. Isaac prayed to Yahweh on behalf of his wife because she was childless. Yahweh answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. But the children struggled inside her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she asked Yahweh, and Yahweh said to her, "2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples will be separated from within you. 1 people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came for Rebekah to give birth, there were twins in her womb. The first came out reddish all over, like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. When his brother came out with his hand clutching Esau's heel, they named him Jacob. When the boys grew up, Esau became a skilled hunter, a man of the open fields, but Jacob was an even-tempered man, living in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he had a taste for fresh game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Now Jacob cooked some stew, and when Esau came in from the open fields, he was famished. So Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me some of the red stuff. Yes, this red stuff, because I'm starving." That is why he was also called Edom. But Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look," said Esau, "I'm about to die. What use is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear an oath to me now." So Esau swore an oath to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and lentil stew. Esau ate and drank, then got up and went out. So Esau despised his birthright. There was a famine in the land, subsequent to the earlier famine that occurred in the days of Abraham. Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines at Gerar. Yahweh appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Settle down in the land that I will point out to you. Stay in this land. Then I will be with you and will bless you, for I will give all these lands to you and to your descendants, and I will fulfill the solemn promise I made to your father Abraham. I will multiply your descendants so they will be as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give them all these lands. All the nations of the earth will pronounce blessings on one another, using the name of your descendants. All this will come to pass because Abraham obeyed me and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So Isaac settled in Gerar. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, he replied, "She is my sister." He was afraid to say, "She is my wife," for he thought to himself, "The men of this place will kill me to get Rebekah because she is very beautiful." After Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, happened to look out a window and observed Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She is really your wife. Why did you say, 'She is my sister'?" Isaac replied, "Because I thought someone might kill me to get her." Then Abimelech exclaimed, "What in the world have you done to us? One of the men nearly took your wife to bed, and you would have brought guilt on us." So Abimelech commanded all the people, "Whoever touches this man or his wife will surely be put to death." When Isaac planted in that land, he reaped in the same year 100 times what he had sown, because Yahweh blessed him. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Leave us and go elsewhere, for you have become much more powerful than we are." So Isaac left there and settled in the Gerar valley. When Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well with fresh flowing water there, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "The water belongs to us." So Isaac named the well Esek because they argued with him about it. His servants dug another well, but they quarreled over it too. So Isaac named it Sitnah. Then he moved away from there and dug another well. They did not quarrel over it, so Isaac named it Rehoboth, saying, "For now Yahweh has made room for us, and we will prosper in the land." From there, Isaac went up to Beersheba. Yahweh appeared to him that night and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham, Then Isaac built an altar there and worshipped Yahweh. He pitched his tent there, and his servants dug a well. Now Abimelech had come to him from Gerar, along with Ahuzah, his friend, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac asked them, "Why have you come to me? You hate me and sent me away from you." They replied, "We could plainly see that Yahweh is with you. So we decided there should be a pact between us and you. Allow us to make a treaty with you so that you will not do us any harm, just as we have not harmed you, but have always treated you well before sending you away in peace. Now you are blessed by Yahweh." So Isaac held a feast for them, and they celebrated. Early in the morning the men made a treaty with each other. Isaac sent them off. They separated on good terms. That day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. "We found water," they reported. So he named it Sheba. That is why the name of the city has been Beer-sheba to this day. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he was almost blind, he called his older son Esau and said to him, "My son." "Here I am," Esau replied. Isaac said, "Since I am so old, I could die at any time. Therefore, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out into the open fields and hunt down some wild game for me. Then prepare for me some tasty food, the kind I love, and bring it to me. Then I will eat it, so that I may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah had been listening while Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau went out to the open fields to hunt down some wild game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Look, I overheard your father tell your brother Esau, 'Bring me some wild game and prepare for me some tasty food. Then I will eat it and bless you in the presence of Yahweh before I die.' Now then, my son, do exactly what I tell you. Go to the flock and get me 2 of the best young goats. I'll prepare them in a tasty way for your father, just the way he loves them. Then you will take it to your father. Thus he will eat it and bless you before he dies." "But Esau, my brother, is a hairy man," Jacob protested to his mother Rebekah, "and I have smooth skin. My father may touch me. Then he'll think I'm mocking him, and I'll bring a curse on myself instead of a blessing." So his mother told him, "Any curse against you will fall on me, my son. Just obey me. Go and get them for me." So he went and got the goats and brought them to his mother. She prepared some tasty food, just the way his father loved it. Then Rebekah took her older son Esau's best clothes, which she had with her in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She put the skins of the young goats on his hands and the smooth part of his neck. Then she handed the tasty food and the bread she had made to her son Jacob. He went to his father and said, "My father." Isaac replied, "Here I am. Which are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I've done as you told me. Now sit up and eat some of my wild game, so that you can bless me." But Isaac asked his son, "How in the world did you find it so quickly, my son?" "Because Yahweh your God brought it to me," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come closer, so I can touch you, my son, and know for certain if you really are my son Esau." So Jacob went over to his father Isaac, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's." He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy, like his brother Esau's hands. So Isaac blessed Jacob. Then he asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" "I am," Jacob replied. Isaac said, "Bring some of the wild game for me to eat, my son. Then I will bless you." So Jacob brought it to him, and he ate it. He also brought him wine, and Isaac drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come here and kiss me, my son." So Jacob went over and kissed him. When Isaac caught the scent of his clothing, he blessed him, saying, "Yes, my son smells like the scent of an open field, which Yahweh has blessed. May God give you the dew of the sky and the richness of the earth and plenty of grain and new wine. May people serve you and nations bow down to you. You will be lord over your brothers, and the sons of your mother will bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. Isaac had just finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence when his brother Esau returned from the hunt. He also prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Esau said to him, "My father, get up and eat some of your son's wild game. Then you can bless me." His father Isaac asked, "Who are you?" "I am your firstborn son," he replied, "Esau." Isaac began to shake violently and asked, "Then who else hunted game and brought it to me? I ate all of it just before you arrived, and I blessed him. He will indeed be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he wailed loudly and bitterly. He said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." But Isaac replied, "Your brother came in here deceitfully and took away your blessing." Esau exclaimed, "Jacob is the right name for him. He has tripped me up 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now, look, he has taken away my blessing." Then he asked, "Have you not kept back a blessing for me?" Isaac replied to Esau, "Look, I have made him lord over you. I have made all his relatives his servants and provided him with grain and new wine. What is left that I can do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you have only that one blessing, my father? Bless me too." Then Esau wept loudly. So his father Isaac said to him, "See here, your home will be by the richness of the earth and by the dew of the sky above. You will live by your sword, but you will serve your brother. When you grow restless, you will tear off his yoke from your neck." So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing his father had given to his brother. Esau said privately, "The time of mourning for my father is near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." When Rebekah heard what her older son Esau had said, she quickly summoned her younger son Jacob and told him, "Look, your brother Esau is planning to get revenge by killing you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Run away immediately to my brother Laban in Haran. Live with him for a little while until your brother's rage subsides. Stay there until your brother's anger against you subsides and he forgets what you did to him. Then I'll send someone to bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" And Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. Yahweh stood at its top. He said, "I am Yahweh, the God of your grandfather Abraham and the God of your father Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the ground you are lying on. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west, east, north, and south. And so all the families of the earth may receive blessings through you and through your descendants. I am with you. I will protect you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I promised you." Then Jacob thought, "Surely Yahweh is in this place," but I did not realize it. If God is with me and protects me on this journey I am taking and gives me food to eat and clothing to wear, then Yahweh will become my God. So Jacob moved on and came to the land of the eastern people. He saw in the field a well with 3 flocks of sheep lying beside it, because the flocks were watered from that well. Now a large stone covered the mouth of the well. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone off the mouth of the well and water the sheep. Then they would put the stone back in its place over the well's mouth. Jacob asked them, "My brothers, where are you from?" They replied, "We're from Haran." So he said to them, "Do you know Laban, the grandson of Nahor?" "We know him," they said. "Is he well?" Jacob asked. They replied, "He is well. Now look, here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep." Then Jacob said, "Since it is still the middle of the day, it is not time for the flocks to be gathered. You should water the sheep and then go and let them graze some more. "We can't," they said, "until all the flocks are gathered and the stone is rolled off the mouth of the well. Then we water the sheep." While he was still speaking with them, Rachel arrived with her father's sheep, for she was tending them. When Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of his uncle Laban, and the sheep of his uncle Laban, he went over and rolled the stone off the mouth of the well and watered the sheep of his uncle Laban. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep loudly. When Jacob explained to Rachel that he was a relative of her father and the son of Rebekah, she ran and told her father. When Laban heard this news about Jacob, his sister's son, he rushed out to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban how he was related to him. Then Laban said to him, "You are indeed my own flesh and blood." So Jacob stayed with him for a month. Then Laban said to Jacob, "Should you work for me for nothing because you are my relative? Tell me what your wages should be." Now Laban had 2 daughters. The older one was named Leah, and the younger one Rachel. Leah's eyes were tender, but Rachel had a lovely figure and beautiful appearance. Since Jacob had fallen in love with Rachel, he said, "I'll serve you 7 years in exchange for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban replied, "I'd rather give her to you than to another man. Stay with me." So Jacob worked for 7 years to acquire Rachel. But they seemed like only a few days to him because his love for her was so great. Finally, Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, for my time of service is up, and I want to sleep with her." So Laban invited all the people of that place and prepared a feast. In the evening, he brought his daughter Leah to Jacob, and he slept with her. In the morning, Jacob discovered it was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, "What in the world have you done to me? Didn't I work for you in exchange for Rachel? Why have you tricked me?" "It is not our custom here," Laban replied, "to give the younger daughter in marriage before the firstborn. Complete my older daughter's bridal week. Then we will give you the younger one too, in exchange for 7 more years of work." Jacob did as Laban said. When Jacob completed Leah's bridal week, Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. When Yahweh saw that Leah was unloved, he enabled her to become pregnant while Rachel remained childless. So Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, "Yahweh has looked with pity on my oppressed condition. Surely my husband will love me now." She became pregnant again and had another son. She said, "Because Yahweh heard that I was unloved, he gave me this one too." So she named him Simeon. She became pregnant again and had another son. She said, "Now this time, my husband will show me affection, because I have given birth to 3 sons for him." That is why he was named Levi. She became pregnant again and had another son. She said, "This time I will praise Yahweh." That is why she named him Judah. Then she stopped having children. When Rachel saw that she could not give Jacob children, she became jealous of her sister. She said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I'll die." Jacob became furious with Rachel and exclaimed, "Am I in the place of God, who has kept you from having children?" So Rachel gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife, and Bilhah became pregnant and gave Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me. He has responded to my prayer and given me a son." That is why she named him Dan. Bilhah, Rachel's servant, became pregnant again and gave Jacob another son. Then Rachel said, "I have fought a desperate struggle with my sister, but I have won." So she named him Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife. Soon Leah's servant Zilpah gave Jacob a son. Leah said, "How fortunate," so she named him Gad. Then Leah's servant Zilpah gave Jacob another son. Leah said, "How happy I am, for women will call me happy." So she named him Asher. At the time of the wheat harvest, Reuben went out and found some mandrake plants in a field and brought them to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Give me some of your son's mandrakes." But Leah replied, "Wasn't it enough that you've taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes too?" "All right," Rachel said. "He may go to bed with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." When Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must sleep with me, because I have paid for your services with my son's mandrakes." So he went to bed with her that night. "Now my husband will honor me," and said, "May Yahweh give me yet another son." After Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way so that I can go home to my own country. Let me take my wives and my children, whom I have acquired by working for you. Then I'll depart, because you know how hard I've worked for you." But Laban said to him, "If I have found favor in your sight, please stay here, for I have learned by divination that Yahweh has blessed me on account of you." He added, "Just name your wages. I'll pay whatever you want." "You know how I have worked for you," Jacob replied, "and how well your livestock have fared under my care. Indeed, you had little before I arrived, but now your possessions have increased many times over. Yahweh has blessed you wherever I worked. But now, how long must it be before I do something for my own family too?" So Laban asked, "What should I give you?" "You don't need to give me a thing," Jacob replied. "But if you agree to this one condition, I will continue to care for your flocks and protect them. Let me walk among all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and the spotted or speckled goats. These animals will be my wages. My integrity will testify for me later on. When you come to verify that I have taken only the wages we agreed on, if I have in my possession any goat that is not speckled or spotted, or any sheep that is not dark-colored, it will be considered stolen." "Agreed," said Laban. "It will be as you say." So that day Laban removed the male goats that were streaked or spotted, all the female goats that were speckled or spotted, all that had any white on them, and all the dark-colored lambs, and put them in the care of his sons. Then he separated them from Jacob by a 3-day journey, while Jacob was taking care of the rest of Laban's flocks. But Jacob took fresh-cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees. He made white streaks by peeling them, making the white inner wood in the branches visible. Then he set up the peeled branches in all the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. He set up the branches in front of the flocks when they were in heat and came to drink. When the sheep mated in front of the branches, they gave birth to young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. Jacob removed these lambs, but he made the rest of the flock face the streaked and completely dark-colored animals in Laban's flock. So he made separate flocks for himself and did not mix them with Laban's flocks. When the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would set up the branches in the troughs in front of the flock, so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weaker, he did not set the branches there. So the weaker animals ended up belonging to Laban, and the stronger animals to Jacob. Yahweh said to Jacob, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives. I will be with you." Jacob sent messengers on ahead to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the region of Edom. He commanded them, "This is what you must say to my lord Esau. This is what your servant Jacob says. I have been staying with Laban until now. I have oxen, donkeys, sheep, and male and female servants. I have sent this message to inform my lord, so that I may find favor in your sight." The messengers returned to Jacob and said, "We went to your brother Esau. He is coming to meet you and has 400 men with him." Jacob was very afraid and upset, so he divided the people who were with him into 2 camps, as well as the flocks, herds, and camels. If Esau attacks one camp, he thought, then the other camp will be able to escape, Then Jacob prayed, O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, O Lord, you said to me, return to your land and to your relatives, and I will make you prosper. I am not worthy of all the faithful love you have shown your servant. With only my walking stick I crossed the Jordan, but now I have become two camps. Rescue me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me, as well as the mothers with their children. But you said, I will certainly make you prosper, and will make your descendants like the sand on the seashore, too numerous to count. Jacob stayed there that night. Then he sent as a gift to his brother Esau 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He entrusted them to his servants, who divided them into herds. He told his servants, pass over before me, and keep some distance between one herd and the next. He instructed the servant leading the first herd. When my brother Esau meets you and asks, to whom do you belong? Where are you going? Whose herds are you driving? Then you must say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They have been sent as a gift to my lord Esau. In fact, Jacob himself is behind us. He also gave these instructions to the second and third servants, as well as all those who were following the herds, saying, you must say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. You must also say, in fact, your servant Jacob is behind us. Jacob thought, I will first appease him by sending a gift ahead of me. After that, I will meet him. Perhaps he will accept me. So the gifts were sent on ahead of him while he spent that night in the camp. During the night, Jacob quickly took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, along with all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone. Then a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he could not defeat Jacob, he struck the socket of his hip, so the socket of Jacob's hip was dislocated while he wrestled with him. Then the man said, let me go, for the dawn is breaking. I will not let you go, Jacob replied, unless you bless me. The sun rose over him, but he was limping because of his hip. That is why to this day the Israelites do not eat the sinew which is attached to the socket of the hip, because he struck the socket of Jacob's hip near the attached sinew. Jacob looked up and saw that Esau was coming along with 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female servants. He put the servants and their children in front, with Leah and her children behind them, and Rachel and Joseph behind them. But Jacob himself went on ahead of them, and he bowed toward the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, hugged his neck, and kissed him. Then they both wept. When Esau looked up and saw the women and the children, he asked, who are these people with you? Jacob replied, the children whom God has graciously given your servant. The female servants came forward with their children and bowed down. Then Leah came forward with her children, and they bowed down. Finally, Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed down. Esau then asked, what did you intend by sending all these herds to meet me? Jacob replied, to find favor in your sight, my lord. But Esau said, I have plenty, my brother. Keep what belongs to you. No, please take them, Jacob said. If I have found favor in your sight, accept my gift from my hand. Now that I have seen your face and you have accepted me, it is as if I have seen the face of God. Please take my present that was brought to you, for God has been generous to me, and I have all I need. When Jacob urged him, he took it. Then Esau said, let's be on our way. I will go in front of you. But Jacob said to him, My Lord knows that the children are young, and that I have to look after the sheep and cattle that are nursing their young. If they are driven too hard for even a single day, all the animals will die. Let my Lord go on ahead of his servant. I will travel more slowly at the pace of the herds and the children until I come to my Lord at Seir." So Esau said, "Let me leave some of my men with you." "Why do that?" Jacob replied. "My Lord has already been kind enough to me." So that same day Esau made his way back to Seir. But Jacob traveled to Succoth, where he built himself a house and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place was called Succoth. Now Dinah, Leah's daughter, whom she bore to Jacob, went to meet the young women of the land. Shechem grabbed her, forced himself on her, and sexually assaulted her. When Jacob heard that Shechem had violated his daughter Dinah, his sons were with the livestock in the field. So Jacob remained silent until they came in. Now Jacob's sons had come in from the field when they heard the news. They were offended and very angry because Shechem had disgraced Israel by sexually assaulting Jacob's daughter, a crime that should not be committed. Two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the sword, took Dinah from Shechem's house, and left. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought ruin on me by making me a foul odor among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. I am few in number. They will join forces against me and attack me, and both I and my family will be destroyed." But Simeon and Levi replied, "Should he treat our sister like a common prostitute?" Then God said to Jacob, "Go up at once to Bethel and live there. Make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." So Jacob told his household and all who were with him, "Get rid of the foreign gods you have among you. Purify yourselves and change your clothes. Let us go up at once to Bethel. Then I will make an altar there to God, who responded to me in my time of distress and has been with me wherever I went." So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods that were in their possession and the rings that were in their ears. Jacob buried them under the oak near Shechem, and they started on their journey. The surrounding cities were afraid of God, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. He and all those who were with him arrived at Bethel. He built an altar there and named the place El Bethel, because there God had revealed himself to him when he was fleeing from his brother. Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died and was buried under the oak below Bethel. Thus it was named Oak of Weeping. So Jacob set up a sacred stone pillar. He poured out a drink offering on it, and then he poured oil on it. Then Israel travelled on and pitched his tent beyond Migdal Eder. While Israel was living in that land, Reuben went to bed with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard about it. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons because he was a son born to him late in life, and he made a special tunic for him. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated Joseph and were not able to speak to him kindly. Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him even more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. There we were, binding sheaves of grain in the middle of the field. Suddenly, my sheaf rose up and stood upright, and your sheaves surrounded my sheaf and bowed down to it." Then his brothers asked him, "Do you really think you will rule over us or have dominion over us?" They hated him even more because of his dream and because of what he said. Then he had another dream and told it to his brothers. "Look," he said, "I had another dream. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." When he told his father and his brothers, his father rebuked him, saying, "What is this dream that you had? Will I, your mother and your brothers, really come and bow down to you?" His brothers were jealous of him. They said to one another, "Here comes this master of dreams. Come now, let's kill him, throw him into one of the cisterns, and then say that a wild animal ate him. Then we'll see how his dreams turn out. When Joseph reached his brothers, they stripped him of his tunic, the special tunic that he wore. They looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were carrying spices, balm and myrrh down to Egypt. Then Judah said to his brothers, "What profit is there if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let's not lay a hand on him. For after all, he is our brother, our own flesh." His brothers agreed and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. The Ishmaelites then took Joseph to Egypt, so they took Joseph's tunic, killed a young goat, and dipped the tunic in the blood. Then they brought the special tunic to their father and said, "We found this. Determine now whether it is your son's tunic or not." He recognized it and exclaimed, "It is my son's tunic. A wild animal has eaten him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters stood by him to console him, but he refused to be consoled. "No," he said, "I will go to the grave mourning my son." So Joseph's father wept for him. At that time Judah left his brothers and stayed with an Adulamite man named Hira. There Judah saw the daughter of a Canaanite man named Shua. Judah acquired her as a wife and slept with her. She became pregnant and had a son. Judah named him She became pregnant again and had another son, whom she named Onan. Then she had yet another son, whom she named Shelah. She gave birth to him in Kezib. Judah acquired a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was evil in Yahweh's sight, so Yahweh killed him. Then Judah said to Onan, "Sleep with your brother's wife and fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to her, so that you may raise up a descendant for your brother." But Onan knew that the child would not be considered his. So whenever he slept with his brother's wife, he wasted his emission on the ground so as not to give his brother a descendant. What he did was evil in Yahweh's sight, so Yahweh killed him too. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Live as a widow in your father's house until Shelah my son grows up." For he thought, "I don't want him to die like his brothers." So Tamar went and lived in her father's house. After some time, Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. After Judah was consoled, he left for Timnah to visit his sheep-shearers, along with his friend Hira the Adulamite. Tamar was told, "Look, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep." So she removed her widow's clothes and covered herself with a veil. She wrapped herself and sat at the entrance to Enaim, which is on the way to Timnah. She did this because she saw that she had not been given to Shelah as a wife, even though he had now grown up. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute because she had covered her face. He turned aside to her along the road and said, "Come, please, I want to sleep with you." He did not realize it was his daughter-in-law. She asked, "What will you give me so that you may sleep with me?" He replied, "I'll send you a young goat from the flock." She asked, "Will you give me a pledge until you send it?" He said, "What pledge should I give you?" She replied, "Your seal, your cord, and the staff that's in your hand." So he gave them to her, then slept with her, and she became pregnant by him. She left immediately, removed her veil, and put on her widow's clothes. Then Judah had his friend Hira the Adulamite take a young goat to get back from the woman the items he had given in pledge, but Hira could not find her. He asked the men who were there, "Where is the cult prostitute who was at Enaim by the road?" But they replied, "There has been no cult prostitute here." So he returned to Judah and said, "I couldn't find her." Moreover, the men of the place said, "There has been no cult prostitute here." Judah said, "Let her keep the things for herself. Otherwise we will appear to be dishonest. I did indeed send this young goat, but you couldn't find her." After 3 months, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has turned to prostitution, and as a result she has become pregnant." Judah said, "Bring her out and let her be burned." While they were bringing her out, she sent word to her father-in-law, "I am pregnant by the man to whom these belong." Then she said, "Identify the one to whom the seal, cord, and staff belong." Judah recognized them and said, "She is more upright than I am, because I wouldn't give her to Shelah my son." He was not physically intimate with her again. When it was time for her to give birth, there were twins in her womb. While she was giving birth, one child put out his hand, and the midwife took a scarlet thread and tied it on his hand, saying, "This one came out first." But then he drew back his hand, and his brother came out before him. She said, "How you have broken out of the womb." So he was named Perez. Afterward, his brother came out, the one who had the scarlet thread on his hand, and he was named Zerah. Now Joseph had been brought down to Egypt. An Egyptian named Potiphar, an official of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard, purchased him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him there. Yahweh was with Joseph. He was successful and lived in the household of his Egyptian master. His master observed that Yahweh was with him and that Yahweh made everything he was doing successful. So Joseph found favor in his sight and became his personal attendant. Potiphar appointed Joseph overseer of his household and put him in charge of everything he owned. From the time Potiphar appointed him over his household and over all that he owned, Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's household for Joseph's sake. The blessing of Yahweh was on everything that he had, both in his house and in his fields. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. He gave no thought to anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and good looking. Soon after these things, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused, saying to his master's wife, "Look, my master does not give any thought to his household with me here, and everything that he owns he has put into my care. There is no one greater in this household than I am. He has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. So how could I do such a great evil and sin against God?" Even though she continued to speak to Joseph day after day, he did not respond to her invitation to go to bed with her. One day he went into the house to do his work when none of the household servants were there in the house. She grabbed him by his outer garment, saying, "Come to bed with me." But he left his outer garment in her hand and ran outside. When she saw that he had left his outer garment in her hand and had run outside, she called for her household servants and said to them, "See, my husband brought in a Hebrew man to us to humiliate us. He tried to go to bed with me, but I screamed loudly. When he heard me raise my voice and scream, he left his outer garment beside me and ran outside." So she laid his outer garment beside her until his master came home. This is what she said to him: "That Hebrew slave you brought to us tried to humiliate me, but when I raised my voice and screamed, he left his outer garment and ran outside." When his master heard his wife say, "This is the way your slave treated me," he became furious. Joseph's master took him and threw him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. So he was there in the prison. But Yahweh was with Joseph and showed him kindness. He granted him favor in the sight of the prison warden. The warden put all the prisoners under Joseph's care. He was in charge of whatever they were doing. The warden did not concern himself with anything that was in Joseph's care, because Yahweh was with him, and whatever he was doing, Yahweh was making successful. Now Joseph had been brought down to Egypt. An Egyptian named Potiphar, an official of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard, purchased him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him there. Yahweh was with Joseph. He was successful and lived in the household of his Egyptian master. His master observed that Yahweh was with him and that Yahweh made everything he was doing successful. So Joseph found favor in his sight and became his personal attendant. Potiphar appointed Joseph overseer of his household and put him in charge of everything he owned. From the time Potiphar appointed him over his household and over all that he owned, Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's household for Joseph's sake. The blessing of Yahweh was on everything that he had, both in his house and in his fields. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. He gave no thought to anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and good looking. Soon after these things, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused, saying to his master's wife, "Look, my master does not give any thought to his household with me here, and everything that he owns he has put into my care. There is no one greater in this household than I am. He has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. So how could I do such a great evil and sin against God?" Even though she continued to speak to Joseph day after day, he did not respond to her invitation to go to bed with her. One day he went into the house to do his work when none of the household servants were there in the house. She grabbed him by his outer garment, saying, "Come to bed with me." But he left his outer garment in her hand and ran outside. When she saw that he had left his outer garment in her hand and had run outside, she called for her household servants and said to them, "See, my husband brought in a Hebrew man to us to humiliate us. He tried to go to bed with me, but I screamed loudly. When he heard me raise my voice and scream, he left his outer garment beside me and ran outside." So she laid his outer garment beside her until his master came home. This is what she said to him: "That Hebrew slave you brought to us tried to humiliate me. But when I raised my voice and screamed, he left his outer garment and ran outside." When his master heard his wife say, "This is the way your slave treated me," he became furious. Joseph's master took him and threw him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. So he was there in the prison. But Yahweh was with Joseph and showed him kindness. He granted him favor in the sight of the prison warden. The warden put all the prisoners under Joseph's care. He was in charge of whatever they were doing. The warden did not concern himself with anything that was in Joseph's care, because Yahweh was with him, and whatever he was doing, Yahweh was making successful. "See here," Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I place you in authority over all the land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his own hand and put it on Joseph's. He clothed him with fine linen clothes and put a gold chain around his neck. Pharaoh had him ride in the chariot used by his second in command, and they cried out before him, "Kneel down!" So he placed him over all the land of Egypt. Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout the land of Egypt. The famine was severe in all the lands, but throughout the land of Egypt there was food. The famine was severe throughout the earth. People from every country came to Egypt to buy grain because the famine was severe throughout the earth. When Jacob heard there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you looking at each other?" He then said, "Look, I hear that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy grain for us, so that we may live and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, for he said, "What if some accident happens to him?" So Israel's sons came to buy grain among the other travelers, for the famine was severe in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was the ruler of the country, the one who sold grain to all the people of the country. Joseph's brothers came and bowed down before him with their faces to the ground. When Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger to them and spoke to them harshly. He asked, "Where do you come from?" They answered, "From the land of Canaan, to buy grain for food." Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Then Joseph remembered the dreams he had dreamed about them, and he said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see if our land is vulnerable." But they exclaimed, "No, my lord. Your servants have come to buy grain for food. We are all the sons of one man. We are honest men. Your servants are not spies." No, he insisted, but you have come to see if our land is vulnerable. They replied, Your servants are from a family of 12 brothers. We are the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. The youngest is with our father at this time, and one is no longer alive. But Joseph told them, It is just as I said to you, you are spies. You will be tested in this way. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not depart from this place unless your youngest brother comes here. One of you must go and get your brother, while the rest of you remain in prison. In this way, your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth. If not, then, as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies. He imprisoned them all for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Joseph said to them, Do as I say, and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, leave one of your brothers confined here in prison while the rest of you go and take grain back for your hungry families. But you must bring your youngest brother to me. Then your words will be verified and you will not die. They did as he said. They said to one another, Surely we're being punished because of our brother, because we saw how distressed he was when he cried to us for mercy. But we refused to listen. That is why this distress has come on us. Reuben said to them, Didn't I say to you, don't sin against the boy, but you wouldn't listen. So now we must pay for shedding his blood. Now they did not know that Joseph could understand them, for he was speaking through an interpreter. He turned away from them and wept. When he turned around and spoke to them again, he had Simeon taken from them and tied up before their eyes. Then Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to return each man's money to his sack, and to give them provisions for the journey. His orders were carried out, so they loaded their grain on their donkeys and left. When one of them opened his sack to get feed for his donkey at their resting place, he saw his money in the mouth of his sack. He said to his brothers, My money was returned. Here it is in my sack. They were dismayed. They turned trembling to one another and said, What in the world has God done to us? They returned to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan and told him all the things that had happened to them, saying, The man, the lord of the land, spoke harshly to us and treated us as if we were spying on the land. But we said to him, We are honest men. We are not spies. We are from a family of 12 brothers. We are the sons of one father. One is no longer alive, and the youngest is with our father at this time in the land of Canaan. Then the man, the lord of the land, said to us, This is how I will find out if you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain for your hungry households, and go. But bring your youngest brother back to me, so I will know that you are honest men and not spies. Then I will give your brother back to you, and you may move about freely in the land. When they were emptying their sacks, there was each man's bag of money in his sack. When they and their father saw the bags of money, they were afraid. Their father Jacob said to them, You are making me childless. Joseph is gone. Simeon is gone. And now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me. Then Reuben said to his father, You may put my 2 sons to death if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my care, and I will bring him back to you. But Jacob replied, My son will not go down there with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left. If an accident happens to him on the journey you have to make, then you will bring down my grey hair in sorrow to the grave. Now the famine was severe in the land. When they finished eating the grain they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, Return, buy us a little more food. But Judah said to him, The man solemnly warned us, You will not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you send our brother with us, we'll go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we won't go down there, because the man said to us, You will not see my face unless your brother is with you. Israel said, Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had one more brother? They replied, The man questioned us thoroughly about ourselves and our family, saying, Is your father still alive? Do you have another brother?" So we answered him in this way. How could we possibly know that he would say, "Bring your brother down"? Then Judah said to his father Israel, "Send the boy with me, and we will go immediately. Then we will live and not die, we and you and our little ones. I myself pledge security for him. You may hold me liable. If I do not bring him back to you and place him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life. But if we had not delayed, we could have traveled there and back twice by now." Then their father Israel said to them, "If it must be so, then do this. Take some of the best products of the land in your bags, and take a gift down to the man, a little balm and a little honey, spices and myrrh, pistachios and almonds. Take double the money with you. You must take back the money that was returned in the mouths of your sacks. Perhaps it was an oversight. Take your brother too and go right away to the man. May the sovereign God grant you mercy before the man, so that he may release your other brother and Benjamin. As for me, if I lose my children, I lose them." So the men took these gifts, and they took double the money with them, along with Benjamin. Then they hurried down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the servant who was over his household, "Bring the men to the house, slaughter an animal, and prepare it, for the men will eat with me at noon." The man did just as Joseph said. He brought the men into Joseph's house, but the men were afraid when they were brought to Joseph's house. They said, "We are being brought in because of the money that was returned in our sacks last time. He wants to capture us, make us slaves, and take our donkeys." So they approached the man who was in charge of Joseph's household and spoke to him at the entrance to the house. They said, "My lord, we did indeed come down the first time to buy food. But when we came to the place where we spent the night, we opened our sacks and each of us found his money, the full amount, in the mouth of his sack. So we have returned it. We have brought additional money with us to buy food. We do not know who put the money in our sacks." "Everything is fine," the man in charge of Joseph's household told them. "Don't be afraid. Your God, and the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money." Then he brought Simeon out to them. The servant in charge brought the men into Joseph's house. He gave them water, and they washed their feet. Then he gave food to their donkeys. They got their gifts ready for Joseph's arrival at noon, for they had heard that they were to have a meal there. When Joseph came home, they presented him with the gifts they had brought inside, and they bowed down to the ground before him. He asked them how they were doing. Then he said, "Is your aging father well, the one you spoke about? Is he still alive?" "Your servant, our father, is well," they replied. "He is still alive." They bowed down in humility. When Joseph looked up and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, he said, "Is this your youngest brother, whom you told me about?" Then he said, "May God be gracious to you, my son." Joseph hurried out, for he was overcome by affection for his brother, and was at the point of tears. So he went to his room and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out. With composure he said, "Set out the food." They set a place for him, a separate place for his brothers, and another for the Egyptians who were eating with him. The Egyptians are not able to eat with Hebrews, for the Egyptians think it is disgusting to do so. They sat before him, arranged by order of birth, beginning with the firstborn and ending with the youngest. The men looked at each other in astonishment. He gave them portions of the food set before him, but the portion for Benjamin was 5 times greater than the portions for any of the others. They drank with Joseph until they all became drunk. He instructed the servant who was over his household, "Fill the sacks of the men with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack. Then put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the money for his grain." He did as Joseph instructed. When morning came, the men and their donkeys were sent off. They had not gone very far from the city when Joseph said to the servant who was over his household, "Pursue the men at once. When you overtake them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Doesn't my master drink from this cup and use it for divination? You have done wrong.'" When the man overtook them, he spoke these words to them. They answered him, "Why does my lord say such things?" "Far be it from your servants to do such a thing. Look, the money that we found in the mouths of our sacks we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. Why then would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If one of us has it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my lord's slaves." He replied, "You have suggested your own punishment. The one who has it will become my slave, but the rest of you will go free." So each man quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. Then the man searched. He began with the oldest and finished with the youngest. The cup was found in Benjamin's sack. They all tore their clothes. Then each man loaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. So Judah and his brothers came back to Joseph's house. He was still there, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, "What did you think you were doing? Don't you know that a man like me can find out things like this by divination?" Judah replied, "What can we say to my lord? What can we speak? How can we clear ourselves? God has exposed the sin of your servants. We are now my lord's slaves, we and the one in whose possession the cup was found." But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do this. The man in whose hand the cup was found will become my slave, but the rest of you may go back to your father in peace." Then Judah approached him and said, "My lord, please allow your servant to speak a word with you. Please do not get angry with your servant, for you are just like Pharaoh." My lord asked his servants, "Do you have a father or a brother?" We said to my lord, "We have an aged father, and there is a young boy who was born when our father was old. The boy's brother is dead. He is the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him." Then you told your servants, "Bring him down to me, so I can see him." We said to my lord, "The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves his father will die." But you said to your servants, "If your youngest brother does not come down with you, you will not see my face again." When we returned to your servant, my father, we told him the words of my lord. Then our father said, "Go back and buy us a little food." But we replied, "We cannot go down there. If our youngest brother is with us, then we will go, for we won't be permitted to see the man's face if our youngest brother is not with us." Then your servant, my father, said to us, "You know that my wife gave me 2 sons. The first disappeared, and I said, 'He has surely been torn to pieces.' I have not seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and an accident happens to him, then you will bring down my grey hair in tragedy to the grave. So now, when I return to your servant, my father, and the boy is not with us, his very life is bound up in his son's life. When he sees the boy is not with us, he will die, and your servants will bring down the grey hair of your servant, our father, in sorrow to the grave. Indeed, your servant pledged security for the boy with my father, saying, 'If I do not bring him back to you, then I will bear the blame before my father all my life. So now, please, let your servant remain as my lord's slave instead of the boy. As for the boy, let him go back with his brothers, for how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I couldn't bear to see my father's pain.' Joseph was no longer able to control himself before all his attendants, so he cried out, 'Make everyone go out from my presence.' No one remained with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. He wept loudly. The Egyptians heard it, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, 'I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?' His brothers could not answer him because they were dumbfounded before him. Joseph said to his brothers, 'Come closer to me.' So they came near. Then he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now do not be upset, and do not be angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me ahead of you to preserve life. For these past 2 years there has been famine in the land, and for 5 more years there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. God sent me ahead of you to preserve you on the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it is not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me an advisor to Pharaoh, lord over all his household, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Now go up to my father quickly and tell him, this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Do not delay. You will live in the land of Goshen, and you will be near me. You, your children, your grandchildren, your flocks, your herds, and everything you have. I will provide you with food there, because there will be 5 more years of famine. Otherwise you would become poor, you, your household, and everyone who belongs to you. You and my brother Benjamin can certainly see with your own eyes that I really am the one who speaks to you. So tell my father about all my honor in Egypt and about everything you have seen, but bring my father down here quickly. Then he threw himself on the neck of his brother Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. He kissed all his brothers and wept over them. After this his brothers talked with him. Now it was reported in the household of Pharaoh, Joseph's brothers have arrived. It pleased Pharaoh and his servants. Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your animals and go to the land of Canaan. Get your father and your households and come to me. Then I will give you the best land in Egypt, and you will eat the best of the land. You are also commanded to say, do this, take for yourselves wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives. Bring your father and come. Don't worry about your belongings, for the best of all the land of Egypt will be yours. So the sons of Israel did as he said. Joseph gave them wagons as Pharaoh had instructed, and he gave them provisions for the journey. He gave sets of clothes to each one of them, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 sets of clothes. To his father he sent the following: 10 donkeys loaded with the best products of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, food, and provisions for his father's journey. Then he sent his brothers on their way, and they left. He said to them, as you travel, don't be overcome with fear. So they went up from Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, Joseph is still alive and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. Jacob was stunned, for he did not believe them. But when they related to him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to transport him, their father Jacob's spirit revived. Then Israel said, enough! My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. And the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little children, and their wives in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent along to transport him. Jacob and all his descendants took their livestock and the possessions they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and they went to Egypt. He brought with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters, all his descendants. Jacob sent Judah before him to Joseph to accompany him to Goshen. So they came to the land of Goshen. Joseph harnessed his chariot and went up to meet his father Israel's in Goshen. When he met him, he hugged his neck and wept on his neck for quite some time. Israel said to Joseph, now let me die, since I have seen your face and know that you are still alive. Then Joseph said to his brothers and his father's household, I will go up and tell Pharaoh, my brothers and my father's household, who were in the land of Canaan, have come to me. The men are shepherds. They take care of livestock. They have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. Pharaoh will summon you and say, what is your occupation? Tell him, your servants have taken care of cattle from our youth until now, both we and our fathers, so that you may live in the land of Goshen, for everyone who takes care of sheep is disgusting to the Egyptians." Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father, my brothers, their flocks and herds, and all that they own have arrived from the land of Canaan. They are now in the land of Goshen." He took 5 of his brothers and introduced them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph's brothers, "What is your occupation?" They said to Pharaoh, "Your servants take care of flocks, just as our ancestors did." Then they said to Pharaoh, "We have come to live as temporary residents in the land. There is no pasture for your servants' flocks because the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. So now, please let your servants live in the land of Goshen." They may live in the land of Goshen. If you know of any highly capable men among them, put them in charge of my livestock. Joseph also provided food for his father, his brothers, and all his father's household, according to the number of their little children. But there was no food in all the land, because the famine was very severe. The land of Egypt and the land of Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money that could be found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan as payment for the grain they were buying. Then Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's palace. When the money from the lands of Egypt and Canaan was used up, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food. Why should we die before your very eyes because our money has run out?" Then Joseph said, "If your money is gone, bring your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for their horses, the livestock of their flocks and herds, and their donkeys. He got them through that year by giving them food in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was over, they came to him the next year and said to him, "We cannot hide from our lord that the money is used up, and the livestock and the animals belong to our lord. Nothing remains before our lord except our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land in exchange for food, and we, with our land, will become Pharaoh's slaves. Give us seed that we may live and not die. Then the land will not become desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. Each of the Egyptians sold his field, for the famine was severe. So the land became Pharaoh's. Joseph made all the people slaves from one end of Egypt's border to the other end of it. But he did not purchase the land of the priests, because the priests had an allotment from Pharaoh, and they ate from their allotment that Pharaoh gave them. That is why they did not sell their land. Joseph said to the people, "Since I have bought you and your land today for Pharaoh, here is seed for you. Cultivate the land. When the crop comes in, give 1/5 of it to Pharaoh. The remaining 4/5 will be yours for seed for the fields and for you to eat, including those in your households and your little children." They replied, "You have saved our lives. You are showing us favor, and we will be Pharaoh's slaves." So Joseph made it a statute, which is in effect to this day throughout the land of Egypt. 1/5 belongs to Pharaoh. Only the land of the priests did not become Pharaoh's. The time for Israel to die approached, so he called for his son Joseph and said to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, put your hand under my thigh and show me kindness and faithfulness. Do not bury me in Egypt, but when I rest with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial place." Joseph said, "I will do as you say." Jacob said, "Swear to me that you will do so." So Joseph gave him his word. Then Israel bowed down at the head of his bed. Jacob called for his sons and said, "Gather together so I can tell you what will happen to you in future days. Assemble and listen, you sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength, outstanding in dignity, outstanding in power. You are destructive like water and will not excel, for you got on your father's bed, then you defiled it. He got on my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their knives. O my soul, do not come into their council. Do not be united to their assembly. My heart, for in their anger they have killed men, and for pleasure they have hamstrung oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their fury, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down before you. You are a lion's cub, Judah, from the prey. My son, you have gone up. He crouches and lies down like a lion, like a lioness. Who will rouse him? The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs. The nations will obey him, binding his foal to the vine, and his colt to the choicest vine. He will wash his garments in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be red from wine, and his teeth white from milk. Zebulun will live by the haven of the sea, and become a haven for ships. His border will extend to Sidon. Issachar is a strong-boned donkey, lying down between two saddlebags. When he sees a good resting place and the pleasant land, he will bend his shoulder to the burden and become a slave laborer. Dan will judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. May Dan be a snake beside the road, a viper by the path, that bites the heels of the horse, so that its rider falls backward. I wait for your deliverance, O Lord. Gad will be raided by marauding bands, but he will attack them at their heels. Asher's food will be rich, and he will provide delicacies to royalty. Naphtali is a free-running doe. He speaks delightful words. Joseph is a fruitful bough near a spring, whose branches climb over the wall. The archers will attack him. They will shoot at him and oppose him, but his bow will remain steady, and his hands will be skillful, because of the hands of the powerful one of Jacob, because of the shepherd, the rock of Israel, because of the God of your father, who will help you, because of the sovereign God, who will bless you with blessings from the sky above, blessings from the deep that lies below, and blessings of the breasts and womb. The blessings of your father are greater than the blessings of the eternal mountains, or the desirable things of the age-old hills. They will be on the head of Joseph, and on the brow of the prince of his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, and in the evening dividing the plunder. These are the 12 tribes of Israel. This is what their father said to them when he blessed them. He gave each of them an appropriate blessing. Then Joseph hugged his father's face. He wept over him and kissed him. Joseph instructed the physicians in his service to embalm his father, so the physicians embalmed Israel. They took 40 days, for that is the full time needed for embalming. The Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. When the days of mourning had passed, Joseph said to Pharaoh's royal court, "If I have found favor in your sight, please say to Pharaoh, 'My father made me swear an oath.' He said, 'I am about to die. Bury me in my tomb that I dug for myself there in the land of Canaan. Now let me go and bury my father, then I will return.' So Pharaoh said, 'Go and bury your father, just as he made you swear to do.' So Joseph went up to bury his father. All Pharaoh's officials went with him. The senior courtiers of his household, all the senior officials of the land of Egypt, all Joseph's household, his brothers, and his father's household. But they left their little children and their flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. Chariots and horsemen also went up with him, so it was a very large entourage. When they came to the threshing floor of Atad on the other side of the Jordan, they mourned there with very great and bitter sorrow. There Joseph observed a 7-day period of mourning for his father. When the Canaanites who lived in the land saw them mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, 'This is a very sad occasion for the Egyptians.' That is why its name was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond the Jordan. After he buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt. Along with his brothers, and all who had accompanied him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph bears a grudge and wants to repay us in full for all the harm we did to him?" So they sent word to Joseph, saying, "Your father gave these instructions before he died. Tell Joseph this: please forgive the sin of your brothers and the wrong they did when they treated you so badly. Now please forgive the sin of the servants of the God of your father." When this message was reported to him, Joseph wept. Then his brothers also came and threw themselves down before him. They said, "Here we are your slaves." But Joseph answered them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant to harm me, but God intended it for a good purpose, so he could preserve the lives of many people, as you can see this day. So now, don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your little children." Then he consoled them and spoke kindly to them. Joseph lived in Egypt, along with his father's family. Joseph lived 110 years. So Joseph died at the age of 110. After they embalmed him, his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. And in time, Joseph and his brothers and all that generation died. Then a new king, who did not know about Joseph, came to power over Egypt. He said to his people, "Look at the Israelite people, more numerous and stronger than we are. Come, let's deal wisely with them. Otherwise they will continue to multiply. And if a war breaks out, they will ally themselves with our enemies and fight against us and leave the country." So they put foremen over the Israelites to oppress them with hard labor. As a result, they built Pithom and Ramesses as store cities for Pharaoh. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more they multiplied and spread. As a result, the Egyptians loathed the Israelites. In those days, when Moses had grown up, he went out to his people and observed their hard labor, and he saw an Egyptian man attacking a Hebrew man, one of his own people. He looked this way and that, and saw that no one was there, and then he attacked the Egyptian and concealed the body in the sand. When he went out the next day, there were 2 Hebrew men fighting. So he said to the one who was in the wrong, "Why are you attacking your fellow Hebrew?" The man replied, "Who made you a ruler and a judge over us? Are you planning to kill me like you killed that Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid, thinking, "Surely what I did has become known." When Pharaoh heard about this event, he sought to kill Moses. So Moses fled from Pharaoh and settled in the land of Midian. And he settled by a certain well. Now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and began to draw water and fill the troughs in order to water their father's flock. When some shepherds came and drove them away, Moses came up and defended them and then watered their flock. So when they came home to their father Reuel, he asked, "Why have you come home so early today?" They said, "An Egyptian man rescued us from the shepherds, and he actually drew water for us and watered the flock." He said to his daughters, "So where is he? Why in the world did you leave the man? Call him so that he may eat a meal with us." Moses agreed to stay with the man, and he gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. When she bore a son, Moses named him Gershom, for he said, "I have become a resident foreigner in a foreign land." During that long period of time, the king of Egypt died. The angel of Yahweh appeared to him in a flame of fire from within a bush. He looked, and the bush was ablaze with fire, but it was not being consumed. So Moses thought, "I will turn aside to see this amazing sight. Why does the bush not burn up?" When Yahweh saw that he had turned aside to look, God said, "Do not approach any closer. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Yahweh said, "I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry because of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up from that land to a land that is both good and spacious, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the region of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now indeed, go and bring together the elders of Israel and tell them, Yahweh, the God of your fathers, appeared to me, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I have attended carefully to you and to what has been done to you in Egypt, and I have promised that I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, to a land flowing with milk and honey. The elders will listen to you, and then you and the elders of Israel must go to the king of Egypt and tell him, Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. So now, let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness, so that we may sacrifice to Yahweh, our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go, not even under force. So I will extend my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders that I will do among them, and after that he will release you. I will grant this people favor with the Egyptians, so that when you depart, you will not leave empty-handed. Every woman will ask her neighbor and the one who happens to be staying in her house for items of silver and gold and for clothing. You will put these articles on your sons and daughters. Thus you will plunder Egypt. Moses answered again, And if they do not believe me or pay attention to me, but say, Yahweh has not appeared to you. Yahweh said to him, What is that in your hand? He said, A staff. Yahweh said, Throw it to the ground. So he threw it to the ground, and it became a snake, and Moses ran from it. But Yahweh said to Moses, Put out your hand and grab it by the tail. So he put out his hand and caught it, and it became a staff in his hand, that they may believe that Yahweh, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. Yahweh also said to him, Put your hand into your robe. So he put his hand into his robe, and when he brought it out, there was his hand, leprous like snow. He said, Put your hand back into your robe. So he put his hand back into his robe, and when he brought it out from his robe, there it was, restored like the rest of his skin. If they do not believe you or pay attention to the former sign, then they may believe the latter sign. And if they do not believe even these 2 signs or listen to you, then take some water from the Nile and pour it out on the dry ground. The water you take out of the Nile will become blood on the dry ground. Then Moses said to Yahweh, O my Lord, I am not an eloquent man, neither in the past, nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. Yahweh said to him, Who gave a mouth to man, or who makes a person mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, Yahweh? So now go, and I will be with your mouth and will teach you what you must say. But Moses said, O my Lord, please send anyone else whom you wish to send. Then Yahweh became angry with Moses, and he said, What about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know that he can speak very well. Moreover, he is coming to meet you, and when he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. So you are to speak to him and put the words in his mouth. And as for me, I will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and I will teach you both what you must do. He will speak for you to the people, and it will be as if he were your mouth and as if you were his God. You will also take in your hand this staff with which you will do the signs. Yahweh said to Moses in Midian, Go back to Egypt because all the men who are seeking your life are dead. Then Moses took his wife and sons and put them on a donkey and headed back to the land of Egypt. Now on the way, at a place where they stopped for the night, Yahweh met Moses and sought to kill him. But Zipporah took a flint knife, cut off the foreskin of her son, and touched it to Moses' feet, and said, Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me. So Yahweh let him alone. At that time she said, A bridegroom of blood, referring to the circumcision. Yahweh said to Aaron, "Go to the wilderness to meet Moses." So he went and met him at the mountain of God and greeted him with a kiss. Moses told Aaron all the words of Yahweh who had sent him and all the signs that he had commanded him. Then Moses and Aaron went and brought together all the Israelite elders. Aaron spoke all the words that Yahweh had spoken to Moses and did the signs in the sight of the people, and the people believed. When they heard that Yahweh had attended to the Israelites and that he had seen their affliction, they bowed down close to the ground. Afterward, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, "This is what Yahweh, the God of Israel, has said. Release my people so that they may hold a pilgrim feast to me in the wilderness." But Pharaoh said, "Who is Yahweh that I should obey him by releasing Israel? I do not know Yahweh, and I will not release Israel." And they said, "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Let us go a 3-day journey into the wilderness, so that we may sacrifice to Yahweh our God, so that he does not strike us with plague or the sword." The king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, why do you cause the people to refrain from their work? Return to your labor." Pharaoh was thinking, "The people of the land are now many, and you are giving them rest from their labor." That same day, Pharaoh commanded the slave masters and foremen who were over the people, "You must no longer give straw to the people for making bricks as before. Let them go and collect straw for themselves. But you must require of them the same quota of bricks that they were making before. Do not reduce it, for they are slackers. That is why they are crying, 'Let us go sacrifice to our God.' Make the work harder for the men so they will keep at it and pay no attention to lying words." So the slave masters of the people and their foremen went to the Israelites and said, "Thus says Pharaoh, I am not giving you straw. You go get straw for yourselves wherever you can find it, because there will be no reduction at all in your workload." So the people spread out through all the land of Egypt to collect stubble for straw. The slave masters were pressuring them, saying, "Complete your work for each day, just like when there was straw." The Israelite foremen, whom Pharaoh's slave masters had set over them, were beaten and were asked, "Why did you not complete your requirement for brick-making as in the past, both yesterday and today?" The Israelite foreman went and cried out to Pharaoh, "Why are you treating your servants this way? No straw is given to your servants, but we are told, 'Make bricks.' Your servants are even being beaten, but the fault is with your people." But Pharaoh replied, "You are slackers, slackers. That is why you are saying, 'Let us go sacrifice to Yahweh.' So now get back to work. You will not be given straw, but you must still produce your quota of bricks." The Israelite foremen saw that they were in trouble when they were told, "You must not reduce the daily quota of your bricks." When they went out from Pharaoh, they encountered Moses and Aaron standing there to meet them. And they said to them, "May Yahweh look on you and judge, because you have made us stink in the opinion of Pharaoh and his servants, so that you have given them an excuse to kill us." Moses returned to Yahweh and said, "Lord, why have you caused trouble for this people? Why did you ever send me? From the time I went to speak to Pharaoh in your name, he has caused trouble for this people, and you have certainly not rescued them." Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh, for compelled by my strong hand he will release them, and by my strong hand he will drive them out of his land." Yahweh said to Moses, "Pharaoh's heart is hard. He refuses to release the people. Go to Pharaoh in the morning when he goes out to the water. Position yourself to meet him by the edge of the Nile, and take in your hand the staff that was turned into a snake. Tell him, 'Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me to you to say, release my people, that they may serve me in the wilderness. But until now, you have not listened.' This is what Yahweh has said. By this you will know that I am Yahweh. I am going to strike the water of the Nile with the staff that is in my hand, and it will be turned into blood. Fish in the Nile will die, the Nile will stink, and the Egyptians will be unable to drink water from the Nile. He raised the staff and struck the water that was in the Nile right before the eyes of Pharaoh and his servants, and all the water that was in the Nile was turned to blood. When the fish that were in the Nile died, the Nile began to stink, so that the Egyptians could not drink water from the Nile, and Pharaoh turned and went into his house. He did not pay any attention to this. All the Egyptians dug around the Nile for water to drink, because they could not drink the water of the Nile. 7 full days passed after Yahweh struck the Nile. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and tell him, 'This is what Yahweh has said. Release my people in order that they may serve me. But if you refuse to release them, then I am going to plague all your territory with frogs. The Nile will swarm with frogs, and they will come up and go into your house, in your bedroom, and on your bed, and into the houses of your servants and your people, and into your ovens and your kneading troughs. Frogs will come up against you, your people, and all your servants.' And frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, 'Pray to Yahweh that he may take the frogs away from me and my people, and I will release the people, that they may sacrifice to Yahweh.' Moses said to Pharaoh, 'You may have the honor over me. When shall I pray for you, your servants and your people, for the frogs to be removed from you and your houses, so that they will be left only in the Nile?' He said, 'Tomorrow.' And Moses said, 'It will be as you say, so that you may know that there is no one like Yahweh our God. The frogs will depart from you, your houses, your servants, and your people. They will be left only in the Nile.' Then Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried to Yahweh because of the frogs that he had brought on Pharaoh. Yahweh did as Moses asked. The frogs died in the houses, the villages, and the fields. The Egyptians piled them in countless heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart and did not listen to them. Yahweh said to Moses, "Get up early in the morning, stand before Pharaoh, and tell him, 'This is what Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, has said. Release my people so that they may serve me. For this time I will send all my plagues on your very self and on your servants and your people, so that you may know that there is no one like me in all the earth. For by now I could have stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with plague, and you would have been destroyed from the earth. But for this purpose I have caused you to stand, to show you my strength, and so that my name may be declared in all the earth. You are still exalting yourself against my people by not releasing them. I am going to cause very severe hail to rain down about this time tomorrow, such hail as has never occurred in Egypt from the day it was founded until now. So now send instructions to gather your livestock and all your possessions in the fields to a safe place. Every person or animal caught in the field and not brought into the house, the hail will come down on them and they will die." Those of Pharaoh's servants who feared Yahweh's message hurried to bring their servants and livestock into the houses. But those who did not take Yahweh's message seriously left their servants and their cattle in the field. So Yahweh caused hail to rain down on the land of Egypt. The hail was so severe that there had not been any like it in all the land of Egypt since it had become a nation. Only in the land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, was there no hail. So Pharaoh sent and summoned Moses and Aaron and said to them, "I have sinned this time. Yahweh is righteous, and I and my people are guilty. Pray to Yahweh, for the mighty thunderings and hail are too much. I will release you, and you will stay no longer." Moses said to him, "When I leave the city, I will spread my hands to Yahweh. The thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know that the earth belongs to Yahweh." But as for you and your servants, I know that you do not yet fear God Yahweh." So Moses left Pharaoh, went out of the city, and spread out his hands to Yahweh, and the thunder and the hail ceased, and the rain stopped pouring on the earth. When Pharaoh saw that the rain and hail and thunder ceased, he sinned again. Both he and his servants hardened their hearts. Yahweh said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh." So Moses and Aaron came to Pharaoh and told him, "This is what Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews, has said. How long do you refuse to humble yourself before me? Release my people so that they may serve me. But if you refuse to release my people, I am going to bring locusts into your territory tomorrow. They will cover the surface of the earth so that you will be unable to see the ground. They will eat the remainder of what escaped, what is left over for you, from the hail, and they will eat every tree that grows for you from the field. They will fill your houses, the houses of your servants, and all the houses of Egypt, such as neither your fathers nor your grandfathers have seen, since they have been in the land until this day." Then Moses turned and went out from Pharaoh. Pharaoh's servants said to him, "How long will this man be a menace to us? Release the people so that they may serve Yahweh their God. Do you not know that Egypt is destroyed?" So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh, and he said to them, "Go, serve Yahweh your God. Exactly who is going with you?" Moses said, "We will go with our young and our old, with our sons and our daughters, and with our sheep and our cattle we will go, because we are to hold a pilgrim feast for Yahweh." He said to them, "Yahweh will need to be with you if I release you and your dependents. Watch out, trouble is right in front of you. No, go, you men only, and serve Yahweh, for that is what you want." Then Moses and Aaron were driven out of Pharaoh's presence. And then Yahweh brought an east wind on the land all that day and all night. The morning came, and the east wind had brought up the locusts. It was very severe. There had been no locusts like them before, nor will there be such ever again. They covered the surface of all the ground, so that the ground became dark with them. Then Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "I have sinned against Yahweh your God and against you. So now, forgive my sin this time only, and pray to Yahweh your God that he would only take this death away from me." Moses went out from Pharaoh and prayed to Yahweh, and Yahweh turned a very strong west wind, and it picked up the locusts and blew them into the Red Sea. Not one locust remained in all the territory of Egypt. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and said, "Go, serve Yahweh. Only your flocks and herds will be detained. Even your families may go with you." But Moses said, "Will you also provide us with sacrifices and burnt offerings that we may present them to Yahweh our God? Our livestock must also go with us. Not a hoof is to be left behind. For we must take these animals to serve Yahweh our God. Until we arrive there, we do not know what we must use to serve Yahweh." Pharaoh said to him, "Go from me. Watch out for yourself. Do not appear before me again, for when you see my face, you will die." Moses said, "As you wish. I will not see your face again." Yahweh said to Moses, "I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will release you from this place. When he releases you, he will drive you out completely from this place. Instruct the people that each man and each woman is to request from his or her neighbor items of silver and gold." Now Yahweh granted the people favor with the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, respected by Pharaoh's servants and by the Egyptian people. Moses said, "This is what Yahweh has said. About midnight I will go throughout Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt will die, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sits on his throne, to the firstborn son of the slave girl who is at her handmill, and all the firstborn of the cattle. There will be a great cry throughout the whole land of Egypt, such as there has never been, nor ever will be again. But against any of the Israelites, not even a dog will bark against either people or animals, so that you may know that Yahweh distinguishes between Egypt and Israel. All these your servants will come down to me and bow down to me, saying, Go, you and all the people who follow you, and after that I will go out. Then Moses went out from Pharaoh in great anger. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and told them. The people bowed down low to the ground. It happened at midnight. Yahweh attacked all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the prison, and all the firstborn of the cattle. Pharaoh got up in the night, along with all his servants and all Egypt, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was no house in which there was not someone dead. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron in the night and said, Get up, get out from among my people, both you and the Israelites. Go, serve Yahweh as you have requested. Also take your flocks and your herds, just as you have requested, and leave, but bless me also. The Egyptians were urging the people on, in order to send them out of the land quickly, for they were saying, We are all dead. So the people took their dough before the yeast was added, with their kneading troughs bound up in their clothing on their shoulders. Now the Israelites had done as Moses told them. They had requested from the Egyptians silver and gold items and clothing. Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and they gave them whatever they wanted, and so they plundered Egypt. There were about 600,000 men on foot, plus their dependents. A mixed multitude also went up with them, and flocks and herds, a very large number of cattle. They baked cakes of bread without yeast, using the dough they had brought from Egypt, for it was made without yeast. Because they were thrust out of Egypt and were not able to delay, they could not prepare food for themselves either. When Pharaoh released the people, God did not lead them by the way to the land of the Philistines, although that was nearby, for God said, Lest the people change their minds and return to Egypt when they experience war. So God brought the people around by the way of the wilderness. Now Yahweh was going before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them in the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel day or night. He did not remove the pillar of cloud by day nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. The heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, and the king and his servants said, What in the world have we done? For we have released the people of Israel from serving us. Then he prepared his chariots and took his army with him. Moses said to the people, Do not fear. Stand firm and see the salvation of Yahweh that he will provide for you today. For the Egyptians that you see today, you will never, ever see again. Yahweh will fight for you, and you can be still. The pillar of cloud moved from before them and stood behind them. It came between the Egyptian camp and the Israelite camp. It was a dark cloud, and it lit up the night so that one camp did not come near the other the whole night. And Yahweh drove the sea apart by a strong east wind all that night. In the morning watch, Yahweh looked down on the Egyptian army through the pillar of fire and cloud, and he threw the Egyptian army into a panic. He jammed the wheels of their chariots so that they had difficulty driving, and the Egyptians said, Let's flee from Israel. And the sea returned to its normal state when the sun began to rise. Now the Egyptians were fleeing before it, but Yahweh overthrew the Egyptians in the middle of the sea. So Yahweh saved Israel on that day from the power of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore of the sea. When Israel saw the great power that Yahweh had exercised over the Egyptians, they feared Yahweh, and they believed in Yahweh and in his servant Moses. Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to Yahweh. They said,
I will sing to Yahweh, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yahweh is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God. and I will praise him, my father's God, and I will exalt him. Yahweh is a warrior. Yahweh is his name. The chariots of Pharaoh and his army he has thrown into the sea, and his chosen officers were drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahweh, was majestic in power. Your right hand, O Yahweh, shattered the enemy. In the abundance of your majesty, you have overthrown those who rise up against you. You sent forth your wrath. It consumed them like stubble. By the blast of your nostrils, the waters were piled up. The flowing water stood upright like a heap, and the deep waters were solidified in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will chase, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My desire will be satisfied on them. I will draw my sword, my hand will destroy them. But you blew with your breath, and the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahweh, among the gods? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, fearful in praises, working wonders? You stretched out your right hand. The earth swallowed them. By your loyal love, you will lead the people whom you have redeemed. You will guide them by your strength to your holy dwelling place. The nations will hear and tremble. Anguish will seize the inhabitants of Philistia. Then the chiefs of Edom will be terrified. Trembling will seize the leaders of Moab, and the inhabitants of Canaan will shake. Fear and dread will fall on them. By the greatness of your arm, they will be as still as stone until your people pass by, O Yahweh, until the people whom you have bought pass by. You will bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place you made for your residence. O Yahweh, the sanctuary, O Yahweh, that your hands have established. Yahweh will reign forever and ever.
Then Moses led Israel to journey away from the Red Sea. They went out to the wilderness of Shur. Then they came to Marah, but they were not able to drink the waters of Marah because they were bitter. That is why its name was Marah. So the people murmured against Moses, saying, What can we drink? He cried out to Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a tree. When Moses threw it into the water became safe to drink. There Yahweh made for them a binding ordinance, and there he tested them. He said, If you will diligently obey Yahweh your God, and do what is right in his sight, and pay attention to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, then all the diseases that I brought on the Egyptians I will not bring on you, for I, Yahweh, am your healer. Then Yahweh said to Moses, I am going to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people will go out and gather the amount for each day, so that I may test them. Will they walk in my law or not? On the 6th day they will prepare what they bring in, and it will be twice as much as they gather every other day. 6 days you will gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will not be any. On the 7th day some of the people went out to gather it, but they found nothing. So Yahweh said to Moses, How long do you refuse to obey my commandments and my instructions? See, because Yahweh has given you the Sabbath, that is why he is giving you food for 2 days on the 6th day. Each of you stay where you are. Let no one go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. The whole community of the Israelites traveled on their journey from the wilderness of Sin according to Yahweh's instruction, and they pitched camp in Rephidim. Now there was no water for the people to drink. So the people contended with Moses, and they said, Give us water to drink. Moses said to them, Why do you contend with me? Why do you test Yahweh? Then Moses cried out to Yahweh, What will I do with this people? A little more and they will stone me. Yahweh said to Moses, Go over before the people. Take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand your staff, with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will be standing before you there, on the rock in Horeb, and you will strike the rock, and water will come out of it, so that the people may drink. And Moses did so in plain view of the elders of Israel. He called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the contending of the Israelites, and because of their testing Yahweh, saying, Is Yahweh among us or not? And Moses told the words of the people to Yahweh. Yahweh said to Moses, Go to the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and make them wash their clothes and be ready for the third day. For on the third day Yahweh will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. You must set boundaries for the people all around, saying, Take heed to yourselves not to go up on the mountain, nor touch its edge. Whoever touches the mountain will surely be put to death. No hand will touch him, but he will surely be stoned or shot through, whether a beast or a human being. He must not live. When the ram's horn sounds a long blast, they may go up on the mountain. Then Moses went down from the mountain to the people and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. He said to the people, Be ready for the third day. Do not approach your wives for marital relations. On the third day in the morning, Mount Sinai was completely covered with smoke, because Yahweh had descended on it in fire, and its smoke went up like the smoke of a great furnace, and the whole mountain shook violently. Yahweh came down on Mount Sinai, on the top of the mountain, and Yahweh summoned Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. Yahweh said to Moses, Go down and solemnly warn the people, lest they force their way through to Yahweh to look, and many of them perish. Let the priests also who approach Yahweh sanctify themselves, lest Yahweh break through against them. Moses said to Yahweh, The people are not able to come up to Mount Sinai, because you solemnly warned us. Set boundaries for the mountain and set it apart. Yahweh said to him, Go, get down, and then come up, and Aaron with you. But do not let the priests and the people force their way through to come up to Yahweh, lest he break through against them. So Moses went down to the people and spoke to them. But to Moses Yahweh said, Come up to Yahweh, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship from a distance. Moses alone may come near Yahweh, but the others must not come near, nor may the people go up with him. Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up, and they saw the God of Israel. Under his feet there was something like a pavement made of sapphire, clear like the sky itself. But he did not lay a hand on the leaders of the Israelites, so they saw God. Moses saw that the people were running wild, so Moses stood at the entrance of the camp and said, Whoever is for Yahweh, come to me. All the Levites gathered around him, and he said to them, This is what Yahweh, the God of Israel, has said, Each man fasten his sword on his side, and go back and forth from entrance to entrance throughout the camp, and each one kill his brother, his friend, and his neighbor. The Levites did what Moses ordered, and that day about 3,000 men of the people died. Moses said, You have been consecrated today for Yahweh, for each of you was against his son or against his brother, so he has given a blessing to you today. Yahweh said to Moses, Go up from here, you and the people whom you brought up out of the land of Egypt, to the land I promised on oath to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey. But I will not go up among you, for you are a stiff-necked people, and I might destroy you on the way. Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go up among you, for you are a stiff-necked people, and I might destroy you on the way. When the people heard this troubling word, they mourned. No one put on his ornaments. For Yahweh had said to Moses, Tell the Israelites, You are a stiff-necked people. If I went up among you for a moment, I might destroy you. Now take off your ornaments, that I may know what I should do to you." So the Israelites stripped off their ornaments. Moses said to Yahweh, "See, you have been saying to me, 'Bring this people up,' but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. But you said, 'I know you by name,' and also, 'You have found favor in my sight.' Now if I have found favor in your sight, show me your way, that I may know you, that I may continue to find favor in your sight, and see that this nation is your people." And Yahweh said, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." And Moses said to him, "If your presence does not go with us, do not take us up from here. For how will it be known then that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people? Is it not by your going with us, so that we will be distinguished, I and your people, from all the people who are on the face of the earth?" Yahweh said to Moses, "I will do this thing also that you have requested, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name." And Moses said, "Show me your glory." And Yahweh said, "I will make all my goodness pass before your face, and I will proclaim Yahweh by name before you. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. I will show mercy to whom I will show mercy." But he added, "You cannot see my face, for no one can see me and live." Yahweh said, "Here is a place by me. You will station yourself on a rock. When my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft in the rock, and will cover you with my hand while I pass by. Then I will take away my hand, and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen. Be prepared in the morning, and go up in the morning to Mount Sinai, and station yourself for me there on the top of the mountain. No one is to come up with you. Do not let anyone be seen anywhere on the mountain. Not even the flocks or the herds may graze in front of that mountain." Early in the morning he went up to Mount Sinai, and stood with him there and proclaimed Yahweh by name. Yahweh passed by before him and proclaimed, "Yahweh, Yahweh, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger and abounding in loyal love and faithfulness, keeping loyal love for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin." But he by no means leaves the guilty unpunished, responding to the transgression of fathers by dealing with children and children's children, to the third and fourth generation. Moses quickly bowed to the ground and worshipped and said, "If now I have found favor in your sight, O Lord, let my Lord go among us, for we are a stiff-necked people. Pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for your inheritance." Moses said to Hobab, son of Roel the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, "We are journeying to the place about which Yahweh said, 'I will give it to you.' Come with us, and we will treat you well, for Yahweh has promised good things for Israel." But Hobab said to him, "I will not go, but I will go instead to my own land and to my kindred." Moses said, "Do not leave us, because you know places for us to camp in the wilderness, and you could be our guide. And if you come with us, it is certain that whatever good things Yahweh will favor us with, we will share with you as well." So they traveled from the mountain of Yahweh 3 days' journey, and the ark of the covenant of Yahweh was traveling before them during the 3 days' journey to find a resting place for them. And the cloud of Yahweh was over them by day when they traveled from the camp. And when the ark traveled, Moses would say, "Rise up, O Yahweh. May your enemies be scattered, and may those who hate you flee before you." And when it came to rest, he would say, "Return, O Yahweh, to the many thousands of Israel." When the people complained, it displeased Yahweh. When Yahweh heard it, his anger burned, and so the fire of Yahweh burned among them and consumed some of the outer parts of the camp. When the people cried to Moses, he prayed to Yahweh, and the fire died out. So he called the name of that place Taberah, because there the fire of Yahweh burned among them. Now the mixed multitude who were among them craved more desirable foods, and so the Israelites wept again and said, If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we used to eat freely in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now we are dried up, and there is nothing at all before us except this manna." Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, everyone at the door of his tent. And when the anger of Yahweh was kindled greatly, Moses was also displeased. "From where shall I get meat to give to this entire people? For they cry to me, 'Give us meat, that we may eat.' And say to the people, 'Sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, and you will eat meat, for you have wept in the hearing of Yahweh, saying, Who will give us meat to eat? For life was good for us in Egypt.' Therefore Yahweh will give you meat, and you will eat. You will eat, not just 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but a whole month, until it comes out your nostrils and makes you sick, because you have despised Yahweh who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, 'Why did we ever come out of Egypt?' Or Moses said, 'The people around me are 600,000 on foot.' But you say, 'I will give them meat, that they may eat for a whole month.' Would they have enough if the flocks and herds were slaughtered for them? If all the fish of the sea were caught for them, would they have enough?" And Yahweh said to Moses, "Is Yahweh's hand shortened? Now you will see whether my word to you will come true or not." So Moses went out and told the people the words of Yahweh. Now a wind went out from Yahweh and brought quail from the sea, and let them fall near the camp, about a day's journey on this side, and about a day's journey on the other side, all around the camp, and about 3 feet high on the surface of the ground. And the people stayed up all that day, all that night, and all the next day, and gathered the quail. The one who gathered the least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. But while the meat was still between their teeth, before they chewed it, the anger of Yahweh burned against the people, and Yahweh struck the people with a very great plague. So the name of that place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people that craved different food. He told them, "Go up through the Negev, and then go up into the hill country and see what the land is like, and whether the people who live in it are strong or weak, few or many, and whether the land they live in is good or bad, and whether the cities they inhabit are like camps or fortified cities, and whether the land is rich or poor, and whether or not there are forests in it. And be brave, and bring back some of the fruit of the land." Now it was the time of year for the first ripe grapes. When they went up through the Negev, they came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, descendants of Anak, were living. Now Hebron had been built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. When they came to the valley of Eshcol, they cut down from there a branch with 1 cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a staff between 2 men, as well as some of the pomegranates and the figs. That place was called the Eshcol Valley, because of the cluster of grapes that the Israelites cut from there. To Kadesh. They reported to the whole community and showed the fruit of the land. They told Moses, "We went to the land where you sent us. It is indeed flowing with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. But the inhabitants are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the land of the Negev. The Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country, and the Canaanites live by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan." Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses, saying, "Let us go up and occupy it, for we are well able to conquer it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We are not able to go up against these people, because they are stronger than we are. We even saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak came from the Nephilim, and we seemed like grasshoppers both to ourselves and to them." And the people wept that night. Yahweh said to Moses, "How long will this people despise me, and how long will they not believe in me? in spite of the signs that I have done among them. I will strike them with the pestilence, and I will disinherit them. I will make you into a nation that is greater and mightier than they." Moses said to Yahweh, "When the Egyptians hear it, for you brought up this people by your power from among them, then they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land. They have heard that you, Lord, are among this people, that you, Lord, are seen face to face, that your cloud stands over them, and that you go before them by day in a pillar of cloud and in a pillar of fire by night. If you kill this entire people at once, then the nations that have heard of your fame will say, 'Because Yahweh was not able to bring this people into the land that he swore to them, he killed them in the wilderness. So now let the power of my Lord be great, just as you have said. Yahweh is slow to anger and abounding in loyal love, forgiving iniquity and transgression, but by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children until the third and fourth generations. Please forgive the iniquity of this people according to your great loyal love, just as you have forgiven this people from Egypt, even until now." Then Yahweh said, "I have forgiven them as you asked, but truly, as I live, all the earth will be filled with the glory of Yahweh. For all the people have seen my glory and my signs that I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and yet have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not obeyed me. They will by no means see the land that I promised on oath to their fathers, nor will any of them who despise me see it. Only my servant Caleb, because he had a different spirit and has followed me fully, I will bring him into the land where he had gone, and his descendants will possess it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites were living in the valleys. Tomorrow, turn and journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea." When Moses told these things to all the Israelites, the people mourned greatly, and early in the morning they went up to the crest of the hill country, saying, "Here we are, and we will go up to the place that Yahweh commanded, for we have sinned." But Moses said, "Why are you now transgressing the commandment of Yahweh? It will not succeed. Do not go up, for Yahweh is not among you, and you will be defeated before your enemies. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and you will fall by the sword. Because you have turned away from Yahweh, Yahweh will not be with you." But they dared to go up to the crest of the hill, although neither the ark of the covenant of Yahweh nor Moses departed from the camp. So the Amalekites and the Canaanites who lived in that hill country swooped down and attacked them as far as Hormah. When the Canaanite king of Arad, who lived in the Negev, heard that Israel was approaching along the road to Atharim, he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoner. So Israel made a vow to Yahweh and said, "If you will indeed deliver this people into our hand, then we will utterly destroy their cities." Yahweh listened to the voice of Israel and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. So the name of the place was called Hormah. And from there they travelled to Beer. That is the well where Yahweh spoke to Moses. "Gather the people, and I will give them water." Then Israel sang this song: "Spring up, O well, sing to it, the well which the princes dug, which the leaders of the people opened with their scepters and their staffs." And from the wilderness they travelled to Mattanah, and from Mattanah to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel to Bamoth, and from Bamoth to the valley that is in the country of Moab, near the top of Pisgah, which overlooks the wastelands. And the Moabites were greatly afraid of the people, because they were so numerous. The Moabites were sick with fear because of the Israelites. So the Moabites said, "Now this mass of people will lick up everything around us, as the bull devours the grass of the field." Now Balak, son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at this time. And he sent messengers to Balaam, son of Beor at Pethor, which is by the Euphrates river in the land of Amal, to summon him, saying, "Look, a nation has come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the earth, and they are settling next to me. So now, please come and curse this nation for me, for they are too powerful for me. Perhaps I will prevail, so that we may conquer them and drive them out of the land. For I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and whoever you curse is cursed." So the elders of Moab departed with the fee for divination in their hands. They came to Balaam and reported to him the words of Balak. He replied to them, "Stay here tonight, and I will bring back to you whatever word Yahweh may speak to me." So the princes of Moab stayed with Balaam, and God came to Balaam and said, "Who are these men with you?" Balaam said to God, "Balak son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent a message to me, saying, 'Look, a nation has come out of Egypt, and it covers the face of the earth. Come now and put a curse on them for me. Perhaps I will be able to defeat them and drive them out.' But God said to Balaam, 'You must not go with them. You must not curse the people, for they are blessed.' So Balaam got up in the morning and said to the princes of Balak, 'Go to your land, for Yahweh has refused to permit me to go with you.' So the princes of Moab departed and went back to Balak and said, 'Balaam refused to come with us.' Balak again sent princes, more numerous and more distinguished than the first. And they came to Balaam and said to him, 'Thus says Balak, son of Zippor, please do not let anything hinder you from coming to me, for I will honor you greatly, and whatever you tell me I will do. So come, put a curse on this nation for me.' Balaam replied to the servants of Balak, 'Even if Balak would give me his palace full of silver and gold, I could not transgress the commandment of Yahweh, my God, to do less or more. Now therefore, please stay the night here also, that I may know what more Yahweh might say to me.' God came to Balaam that night and said to him, 'If the men have come to call you, get up and go with them. But the word that I will say to you, that you must do.' So Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. And the angel of Yahweh stood in the road to oppose him. Now he was riding on his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. And the donkey saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the road with his sword drawn in his hand. So the donkey turned aside from the road and went into the field. But Balaam beat the donkey to make her turn back to the road. Then the angel of Yahweh stood in a path among the vineyards, where there was a wall on either side. And when the donkey saw the angel of Yahweh, she pressed herself into the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. So he beat her again. Then the angel of Yahweh went farther and stood in a narrow place, where there was no way to turn either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of Yahweh, she crouched down under Balaam. Then Balaam was angry, and he beat his donkey with a staff. Then Yahweh opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have beaten me these 3 times?" And Balaam said to the donkey, "You have made me look stupid. I wish there were a sword in my hand, for I would kill you right now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your donkey that you have ridden ever since I was yours until this day? Have I ever attempted to treat you this way?" And he said, "No." Then Yahweh opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way with his sword drawn in his hand. So he bowed his head and threw himself down with his face to the ground. The angel of Yahweh said to him, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? Look, I came out to oppose you because what you are doing is perverse before me. The donkey saw me and turned from me these 3 times. If she had not turned from me, I would have killed you, but saved her alive." Balaam said to the angel of Yahweh, "I have sinned, for I did not know that you stood against me in the road. So now, if it is evil in your sight, I will go back home." But the angel of Yahweh said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but you may only speak the word that I will speak to you." So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Balak said to Balaam, "Come, please, I will take you to another place. Perhaps it will please God to let you curse them for me from there." So Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, that looks toward the wastelands. Then Balaam said to Balak, "Build 7 altars here for me, and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams." So Balak did as Balaam had said, and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. When Balaam saw that it pleased Yahweh to bless Israel, he did not go as at the other times to seek for omens, but he set his face toward the wilderness. When Balaam lifted up his eyes, he saw Israel camped tribe by tribe, and the Spirit of God came upon him. Then he uttered this oracle, the oracle of Balaam, son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eyes are open, the oracle of the one who hears the words of God, who sees a vision from the Almighty, although falling flat on the ground, with eyes open. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, and your dwelling places, O Israel! They are like valleys stretched forth, like gardens by the river's side, like aloes that Yahweh has planted, and like cedar trees beside the waters. He will pour the water out of his buckets, and their descendants will be like abundant water. Their king will be greater than Agag, and their kingdom will be exalted. God brought them out of Egypt. They have, as it were, the strength of a young bull. They will devour hostile people, and will break their bones, and will pierce them through with arrows. They crouch and lie down like a lion, and as a lioness, who can stir him? Blessed is the one who blesses you, and cursed is the one who curses you. Then Balak became very angry at Balaam, and he struck his hands together. Balak said to Balaam, "I called you to curse my enemies, and look, you have done nothing but bless them these 3 times. So now go back where you came from. I said that I would greatly honor you, but now Yahweh has stood in the way of your honor." Balaam said to Balak, "Did I not also tell your messengers whom you sent to me? If Balak would give me his palace full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of Yahweh to do either good or evil of my own will, but whatever Yahweh tells me I must speak." Balaam got up and departed and returned to his home, and Balak also went his way. The people began to commit sexual immorality with the daughters of Moab. These women invited the people to the sacrifices of their gods. Then the people ate and bowed down to their gods. The anger of Yahweh flared up against Israel. Yahweh said to Moses, "Arrest all the leaders of the people and hang them up before Yahweh in broad daylight, so that the fierce anger of Yahweh may be turned away from Israel." This is the blessing Moses, the man of God, pronounced upon the Israelites before his death. He said, "Yahweh came from Sinai and revealed himself to Israel from Seir. He appeared in splendor from Mount Paran and came forth with 10,000 holy ones. With his right hand he gave a fiery law to them. Surely he loves the people. All your holy ones are in your power, and they sit at your feet, each receiving your words. Moses delivered to us a law, an inheritance for the assembly of Jacob. Yahweh was king over Jeshurun when the leaders of the people assembled, the tribes of Israel together. May Reuben live and not die, and may his people multiply. And this is the blessing to Judah. He said, "Listen, O Lord, to Judah's voice, and bring him to his people. May his power be great, and may you help him against his foes." Of Levi he said, "Your Thummim and Urim belong to your godly one, whose authority you challenged at Massa, and with whom you argued at the waters of Meribah." He said to his father and mother, "I have not seen him," and he did not acknowledge his own brothers, or know his own children, for they kept your word and guarded your covenant. They will teach Jacob your ordinances, and Israel your law. They will offer incense as a pleasant odor, and a whole offering on your altar. Bless, O Lord, his goods, and be pleased with his efforts. Undercut the legs of any who attack him, and of those who hate him, so that they cannot stand. Of Benjamin he said, "The beloved of Yahweh will live safely by him. He protects him all the time, and Yahweh places him on his chest." Of Joseph he said, "May Yahweh bless his land with the harvest produced by the sky, by the dew, and by the depths crouching beneath, with the harvest produced by the daylight and by the moonlight, with the best of the ancient mountains, and the harvest produced by the age-old hills, with the harvest of the earth and its fullness, and the pleasure of him who resided in the burning bush. May blessing rest on Joseph's head, and on the top of the head of the one set apart from his brothers. May the firstborn of his bull bring him honor, and may his horns be those of a wild ox. With them may he gore all peoples, all the far reaches of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. Of Zebulun he said, "Rejoice, Zebulun, when you go outside, and Issachar, when you are in your tents." They will summon peoples to the mountain. There they will sacrifice proper sacrifices, for they will enjoy the abundance of the seas and the hidden treasures of the shores. Of Gad he said, "Blessed be the one who enlarges Gad. Like a lioness he will dwell. He will tear at an arm, indeed, a scalp. He has selected the best part for himself, for the portion of the ruler is set aside there. He came with the leaders of the people. He obeyed the righteous laws of Yahweh and his ordinances with Israel. Of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's cub. He will leap forth from Bashan. Of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, overflowing with favor and full of Yahweh's blessing, possess the west and south. Of Asher he said, Asher is blessed with children. May he be favored by his brothers, and may he dip his foot in olive oil. The bars of your gates will be made of iron and bronze, and may you have lifelong strength. There is no one like God, O Jeshurun, who rides through the sky to help you on the clouds in majesty. The everlasting God is a refuge, and underneath you are his eternal arms. He has driven out enemies before you and has said, Destroy. Israel lives in safety. The fountain of Jacob is quite secure, in a land of grain and new wine. Indeed, its heavens rain down dew. You have joy, Israel. Who is like you? You are a people delivered by Yahweh, your protective shield and your exalted sword. May your enemies cringe before you. May you trample on their backs. To the summit of Pisgah, which is opposite Jericho, Yahweh showed him the whole land, Gilead to Dan and all of Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the distant sea, the Negev and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of date palm trees as far as Zoar. Then Yahweh said to him, This is the land I promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when I said, I will give it to your descendants. I have let you see it, but you will not cross over there. He buried him in the valley, in the land of Moab near Beth Peor, but no one knows his exact burial place to this very day.